Okay, there we go. What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Sunday, August 23rd, 2020. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on all sorts of social media. Monte JP231 on Twitter, Monte Perez on Facebook, and Monte Perez 2. We are having problems with the sound, but we just fixed that, so thank you very much for everyone pointing that out. Listen, guys, we had 33 states tune in across the country, and we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Feel free to leave comments on the top of the page. We love people being interactive. Yes, I know we were muted. It wasn't my fault. Thank you for pointing that out. Listen, if you like sports and comedy, our goal of this show is to be on 5 days a week. I can only do that with your help, so please repost this YouTube video on your social media accounts. We have the best guests all across the country. In about 15 minutes, Caroline Bozowski is going to join us to talk USC football, some Jets talk. She is America's home health expert. Listen, guys, with the coronavirus, I suffer from allergies. She's going to help us out big time on what we need to do to keep our homes safe and sound. And she'll also, I see her backstage right now wearing her USC jersey. So there'll be some trash talking as I have my Oregon Ducks mug. So definitely stay tuned for that in about 15 minutes. In 40 minutes, the one, the only owner, operator, writer, founder, Joe Cardozo will join us to talk about the New York Yankees. And if you haven't been watching the NBA playoffs, the bubble has been amazing. It's been amazing. The competition, the level of intensity has been awesome. So Joe is going to talk to us about the NBA playoffs. We're going to break down every series. And then at the top of the hour, Rico, Show Me the Money Graziano, will join us to talk about the NFL roundtable discussion that he does every week, and he'll be joined by his good friend Eli to talk fantasy football. Listen, I just did one fantasy football last week, doing another one in next Sunday, and then the one following that. I'm in 3 fantasy football leagues. I don't like to do that because you basically go up against yourself. For example, if I have Tom Brady in one, I may not have him in the other league, so I'm going against him. But we're going to see what happens. I am the Sports Whisperer. Last year, I came in 3rd and 2nd in my 2 fantasy football leagues, so I won a little bit of money. So you definitely want to check out Rico and Levi. Those guys live, breathe, and eat fantasy football 24/7. But let's start our journey today with this. So before the coronavirus, here are my lovely parents, George and Reyes. We used to go out every Friday night. Meet up at a restaurant here in South Florida. We try to go to a different restaurant each week and just have a good time. You know, the stress of the week, get rid of it, laugh, have some drinks, have some good food. But now we switch that up with the coronavirus. We order food, we bring it to the house, and then we just all meet up, social distance, and just order food. Let me preface this story by saying this. If it was socially acceptable, I would bathe in guacamole. I love guacamole. It is one of my weaknesses in life. I don't eat it often, but when I do, I almost look like a baby with a bib. It's all over me. It's on my hair. It's on my shirt. I love guacamole. So my brother Pete calls me. He went to pick up the food, and he calls me, and I'm in the shower, and my phone is ringing off the hook. He's calling me. He's saying, text me. He's like, please hurry up. So I call him, and I say, Pete, what's going on? So he says to me, you wanted extra guacamole, right? I said, of course I do. He said, well, it's $2 extra. Okay, so it's $2 extra. He's like, no, I just want to make sure, that, you'll pay that. Now, I've known my brother Pete for, 5-6 years now? Where and why does he think that $2 is going to break my bank? I am not the richest person in the world, but I am not cheap. I am not frugal. It's something I've never been accused of. But my brother Pete said 3 or 4 times, well, it's $2. It's $2 extra. And it reminded me of this. By the way, what a classic movie right here. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now, but it's an 80s movie. I want my $2. The Paperboy collecting money from John Cusack. Better Off Dead is the movie. Okay, so my brother Pete's like, I want my $2. When he came home, I go, Pete, I don't have it. He goes, do you want to Venmo it me? I was like, I'm not Venmoing you $2. Right? And again, this is not my brother's fault. He's not cheap either. But what image, what am I displaying that $2 is going to break the bank? By the way, when was the last time you saw a Paperboy? Right? When was the last time we even had a Paperboy? Paperboy, come and bring me some good news. How about that for a Family Guy reference right there? Anyway, so it just reminded me of the time that I must give this vibe off, and I don't know why. Anyone who knows me, anyone who hangs out with me knows that I'm not cheap, but I went out for dinner for our anniversary with one of my ex-girlfriends. We went to this beautiful beachfront restaurant, as you can see right there. Beautiful. And the waitress comes over to the table next to us and says, yes, would you like a bottle of Fiji water, or maybe start off with San Pellegrino? They say, we'll have San Pellegrino. She comes over to me and she says to the busboy, give him tap water. Her job is to upsell. But yet she was sitting there assuming that I didn't want to pay for the bottled water or the Fiji natural spring water. Then at the end of the meal, she gives them the check. She says, listen, if you guys want, we're doing a special tonight on the rooftop bar, $50, open bar for the two of you. The DJ's there from 10 to 1. They said, no, we're going home. We were staying in the hotel, so I wanted to do this. So I said to her, I would like to do the open bar. And she goes, well, it's $50. I said, yeah, I'm fine with it. I want to do the rooftop bar. She goes, well, why do you want to do that? We have the ocean. You can just walk on the ocean. I felt like Bill Murray in Caddyshack when Bill Murray says to Chevy Chase, you got a pool, right? And Chevy Chase goes, no, pool, pond's good for you. This woman's job is to upsell. This woman's job is to sell the $50 package, and she wanted us to go to the beach. She wanted us to go to the beach. By the way, I love how I alienate 90% of my audience in the first 5 minutes with the movie Better Off Dead from the 80s, Caddyshack, and of course Family Guy, Herbert, the reference. When's the Paperboy going to bring me some good news? No one knows what the hell I'm talking about. The show has gone off the rails. All right, we're going to get Caroline on in about 5 minutes, but first we start the show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's start with the good. And there's a theme to the good and the bad and the ugly, and it's perspective, right? You have to have perspective. Perspective means a particular attitude towards a way of regarding something, a point of view. We are seeing all over the country mailboxes being locked up, mailboxes being taken away because they are trying to make it harder to vote. They're not trying to make it easier. And you see politicians tweeting, this isn't democracy. This is outrageous. And it is. But what are they doing about it? What are they doing about it? I'll tell you someone who's doing something about it, LeBron James. NBA superstar LeBron James and the Los Angeles Dodgers are teaming up to convert Dodger Stadium into a polling site for the 2020 presidential election. The team announced this last week. Dodgers are the first Major League Baseball team to make their stadium available for voting. This is a tremendous job by the Dodgers. The voting site is a collaborative effort between the Dodgers and More Than a Vote, a nonprofit coalition made up of Black athletes and artists, including James and Dodger pitchers David Price. The organization works to educate, energize, and protect communities of color by fighting voter suppression. We are all in this together, LeBron James says. That is why we created More Than a Vote. Tremendous job. Let's give them a round of applause to the Dodgers, to LeBron James, not tweeting about it, not just talking about it, but doing something about it. Tremendous job by them. So that's the good. Now let's go to the bad. Now, I may be overreacting here, but I'm fired up about this. I am really fired up this morning, and I'm fired up about this. David Griffin, pitcher right here, he built the team in Cleveland when they won a championship. He is now the executive running the New Orleans Pelicans. Okay, now the New Orleans Pelicans fired Alvin Gentry, their head coach. Terrible job. It was a terrible hire. I called it out right from the start. For those of you who don't know, they have Zion Williamson, who is probably the face of the NBA in the next couple of years. Okay, they have a young team. Now, David Griffin went on and said that this is the most coveted job and the most attractive job in the NBA. And my first thought is, okay, how is this an attractive job? First of all, I understand that you have to say this, but let's have some perspective here, David. The Pelicans are not even in the top 2 in their state. Okay, it's the Saints and LSU football. Some may even say that LSU football is more popular than the Saints. But in 18 years in New Orleans, they've been to 7 playoff appearances. They've made it 7 times. They've only been to the second round once. So David Griffin, I don't know what makes this job so popular. And here's the worst part about it. As you see Zion here again. Here's the worst part about it. He's not going after a young and upcoming coach who should coach these kids who are 21, 23. Okay? He's going after retreads that are still in the bubble. He wants Mike D'Antoni of Houston, who's never won anything. He wants Jason Kidd, who's never won anything, or Tyronn Lue, who only won with LeBron James. So I'm at a loss for words here, because if you want to be the job that everyone thinks is a great job, do what the Celtics did. The Celtics hired Brad Stevens out of Butler. Go after Mark Few from Gonzaga. Mark Few is 57 years old. You're telling me that you offer this guy 5 years, $30 million, he's not going to come? He's a phenomenal coach. He's a great X's and O's guy. What are we going to do with Jason Kidd? He's not winning you a title. You want to be an elite program. Now, listen, people say all the time, like, I like winners. Okay, people say, oh, I'm not a fair weather fan. I've been a lifelong Jet fan. But the Jets never win. I've been a lifelong Knicks fan. The Knicks never win. So I root for LeBron James and the Lakers. I like the Green Bay Packers, okay? And people say, oh, I'm not about winners. Jerry West, people don't know this. Jerry West right there, the NBA logo, a Hall of Famer, was 1-8 in the NBA Finals. He won 1 title. He lost to the Knicks and the Celtics almost every year. The NBA logo, that's Jerry West right there, was 1-8 in the NBA Finals. So it's not about winning all the time, but you got to get there. And for David Griffin to sit there and say this is the best job in the NBA, perspective, dude, you're not even close. And if it is the best job in the NBA, go out and pay your coach like it's the best job. Don't give me Jason Kidd for 10 years, $25 million. Go out and get a stud and pay him what he's worth. Now, finally, that was the good, the bad, and now we have the ugly. Okay. Again, perspective, fans. Let's have perspective. This is Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz. Mike Conley left the bubble to be with his wife and kids. And the hatred and vitriol of these fans was absolutely disgusting, calling him not a man, right? Here's Mike Conley with his wife and his kid. God bless them, right? God bless them. That's one of their kids. And I say this to my friends all the time who are married. If you want to show your kids what it's like to be a good father, to be a good husband, treat your wife with respect. Go the extra mile, right? Because your kids are going to mimic the relationships that you have. My parents are celebrating. They're going to celebrate over 60 years of marriage this week. I've never heard my dad in 60 years curse at my mom. Now, he may do it in private. I've never heard. As a matter of fact, a couple months ago, we were talking about something to do with the show, and I wanted to do something, and my mom was saying something. My dad's like, would you stop? And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you doing? Don't yell at her, because I've never seen it. So Mike Conley, good for you. The NBA, it's more than just basketball. He missed the first 2 games of the playoffs, and the fans to call him not a man is really disgusting. What's more being a man than being a good husband and father? And there you have it, the good, the bad, the ugly. Presented by me. Now, before we get Caroline on, we couldn't do this last week. Let's surf the crowd. Let's surf the crowd. Okay, I'm not a fan of the Rockets. Yep, Jets. I mentioned the Jets. Anytime I mention the Jets, which I will do the entire next segment, we know what that means to all of you watching at home. And I actually have a new little thing here that I think is pretty cool. When we mention the Jets or Rex Ryan, you got to take a drink because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So listen, keep the comments coming. We really love all these comments because they make the show a little bit more interactive. And we really appreciate everyone, especially Joe right now. Look at Joe. Nice background. Yeah, the Oregon Ducks background. I'm sure Caroline's not going to like that, being the USC fan. Caroline is a nationally recognized as America's healthy home expert. She is a home investigator and media personality promoting healthier homes throughout the U.S. She has been featured in AARP, Dr. Radio, The Jenny McCarthy Show, Reader's Digest. The list goes on and on. I'm going to leave that background right there just so you could see what Joe had to say about my beautiful Oregon Duck background. How are you today? Caroline, we can't hear you. Oh, there you go.
Hey guys, how are you? How are y'all?
I'm doing good. I see. Let me see. What's that USC? Let's look at that right there. Is that your mascot right behind you?
Oh, that's the Traveler. You know him well.
That is awesome. All right, Caroline, let's get right to it. We like to start the show, and each time a guest comes on, we really like to put them in good spirits. So I actually got this off your Facebook page. Talk the fans through this and tell them what this is on the picture here. And who are those two attractive men right there with you?
Oh, those are fellow USC alumni. There we go. And of course, you guys all know Sam and Leonard Williams. It was just a great time, a really, really exciting time. We were actually at training camp, which I go to every year, and at least I try to make it every year. And we got the greatest opportunity to be with them. So it was really nice. And Sam and I started together at USC. So his first year was my first year. I went back for an MPH program. And so we got to all hang out. It was really great. That
is awesome. It's amazing because there are certain fan bases that just really, really travel well together. And one of them is Notre Dame. The other one is USC, as you can see right here. And who are those groups? Are they just all alumni right there in that picture?
Alumni, yeah. And most of them were New York. That was because it was in New York. And so we try to support him at every event. And you'll see that there's either an alumni section at the games or tailgate. And we really try to promote, just that family and that Trojan family. So.
And I put the USC, it hurts me to do that. I put the USC background to make you feel comfortable.
Thank you.
Let's get right to it. Obviously, I'm a huge Pac-12 guy. Obviously, the Oregon Ducks. USC football has won 11 titles. Recent history, 1967, 72, 74, 78, 2003, and 4 with Pete Carroll. From 2002 to 2008, they finished 4-1, 1-2, 4, and 3. Talk about how dominant the Trojans were under Pete Carroll during that span. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday just via DM. That place was the place to be in Los Angeles. Every actor, every singer, every band member wanted to be on the sidelines for USC. It was a rock star environment.
That's right. And that was the reason he was so successful. I mean, it really came down to, he had come from the NFL and he had great experience, and he brought that to a private university. And I think people gravitated towards that. He pulled the players in. He was able to say, hey, look, if you're really serious about going to the NFL, here's a coach who has that experience, whether he played at New England, he played with the Vikings, he played with the Jets. Unfortunately, we gave him up, which was probably a big mistake. But either way, he brought that energy. And so when you're looking at recruits, high school kids were admiring, oh my God, I want to go to USC. I'm going to go to the NFL. I'm going to get to be with celebrities. People are going to know who I am. And then also Pete Carroll was really good in the living room. When he went in to sell it to a family or to say, look, we're going to recruit you to come here, it was really important. He was good at that.
That's amazing because one of the things, you look at let's just talk about the Pete Carroll for a second and the different philosophies that he has in the NFL. Bill Belichick is considered the no fun team. It's all business. You come in there, where Pete Carroll is totally the opposite. He wants guys to have a good time. He wants you to work hard, but he wants your personality to shine. Pete Carroll is one of the oldest coaches in the NFL. He looks like he's 50. He has energy. He's constantly chewing that gum, which annoys me on the sideline. But, I mean, he walks into a living room with a parent, and he's the ultimate, and I say this with respect, not demeaning anyone, he's the ultimate used car salesman, right? He can make sure that your kid was coming to his school.
That's right. And it's really important when you're in that college atmosphere. And to give kudos, I'll give a little kudos to Clay Helton. I think that he has that similar like and care about the students, right? He has, I always look at him like a father figure to the students, where, you know, Pete Carroll, I think, let that lie a little bit. And you know the whole story with Reggie Bush. And I think he didn't have a watchful eye over them as much as he should have, where Clay, I think, has that little more family environment. But I think it was also Pete came from the NFL. He wasn't used to babysitting players either. So, you know,
it's funny you say that, because one time the Jets drafted a USC player, and he was a 3rd-round pick, and they had a hot mic on their practice, and Rex Ryan was the coach at the time, and Rex was screaming at the player. And I think it was Mo Lewis, the Jets linebacker, said, "Come on, Rex, you know he's taking a pay cut to be here after playing for USC." So, you know, even the players knew what was going on. Okay, so let's talk about Clay Helton. He's 40-22 as the USC coach, but 13-12 in his last 2 seasons. We've talked about this on the show. When you think of high school blue chip prospects, what that means is the best high school talent in the country. There are 5 or 6 states. California is one of them. Texas, Florida, Ohio. Ohio State does a great job, because I lived in Ohio for a year. Every kid who plays football wants to stay there. I said this, I think, 2 weeks ago on my show. If Rutgers in New Jersey just kept 50% of their talent in New Jersey, they'd be great. So how is USC, which is, you know, the cornerstone of the best high school talent in the country, how are they losing kids to programs like Oregon, to Texas, Alabama, LSU, the Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, and look at what happened, right? So this last recruit, 2020, all of the top 25 picks or the recruits that were coming out of Southern California and California in general, we lost them all. And so I think that's a really big problem moving forward. And I think they're seeing this team is just not as successful as it was. It's not winning championships. And they're obviously leaving to go to these schools, even though they're right there in California. Their families are there. So I think that's huge. And, you know, we discussed it. We lost a lot. Kudos to you. We lost a lot of great recruits to Oregon. The top guys.
Well, I have nothing to do with it. I want to take credit for it, but I really, other than buying gear and watching them all the time, I have nothing to do with it. But, you know, like you said, Chip Kelly did this when he was at Oregon. He's not having the same success at UCLA. And part of the reason is I think Chip Kelly doesn't like to recruit anymore. But for these kids, one of the things that makes Oregon so attractive is Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, gives them the best facilities in the world. They have a different uniform every week. Their weight room is state of the art. They have a smoothie and cafeteria where guys can go 24/7 and get it. USC has the alumni that can donate. And so what's missing from their recruiting of late?
I think it comes down to the coaching staff. I think there's no way around it. And I think that, I mean, you can't put blame anywhere else. And then you have to redirect it towards Clay and also our ADs. We have gone through, 3 ADs in the time that he's been there. And every time a new AD comes in, he's got to, you know, they're not going to just fire him really typically off the bat. They're going to give him a year to prove himself. So we had, you know, Lynn Swan and now he's out and now we have Bones. So I just think, you know, that has a lot to do with it too, the management. So when you're flipping that much, it creates a challenge. What do you think?
No, yeah, that's a great point. So when college football returns, they're probably going to have it in the spring. The SEC is going to go forth with their schedule. The ACC looks like they're going to go forth with their schedule. If Helton doesn't win 10 games, is it time to move on from him?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's just going to present itself to be that way because we have to. I mean, we can't just continue not to be recruiting and having that many. 25 is a lot to turn away to other schools from California. So yes, I think so. It's going to be time.
Okay, so let's move on to the New York Jets. Listen, Sam Darnold and the Jets were 6-2 in their last 8. I did not like the hire of Adam Gase. Let's talk about their offense. My biggest question, I think Le'Veon Bell with the offensive line, you posted a picture about how enormous their offensive line is. So I think Le'Veon Bell will be a featured back once again. But here's the problem. Who's their number one wide receiver?
Well, I've been staying pretty close to the training camp information and just kind of watching stuff. I like Brashad Perryman. He's the typical, I come from the O'Brien and Wesley Walker era, so I'm looking for that over the top, like 40-yard receiver, and I still like
Al2, Nicky Schuler.
Yeah, even
classic
Keyshawn, right. So, I'm that type where I like to see the game move and I like to see a lot of passing. And the Jets have typically been on the ground and pound type of, team. So I kind of like Brashad Perryman. He's my pick. I'd like to see them. I think he's got a lot of the potential. And him and Sam have this really cool dynamic, which happens between them. And they met up in Florida. So that's my pick. But, there's a lot going on there, with Chris Herndon coming back and having a bunch of tight ends and that can do a lot.
If he could just stay healthy, Chris Herndon could be a 60 reception guy, a red zone guy. Red zone, for those of you who don't know, that means inside the 20-yard line, the opponent's 20-yard line. He could have 7-8 touchdowns. And look, I love Mims out of Baylor. I was high on him in college. I think he could be the game breaker that the Jets haven't had in forever. So I think the potential is there. But my concern is you look around the league as you're drinking through your Jets mug, you look around the league and you see what the Ravens have done with Lamar Jackson. They changed their offense around. You see what the Kansas City Chiefs have done with Patrick Mahomes, get him all the weapons. Tom Brady goes to Tampa. They are loaded. My only problem with the Jets here is they weren't aggressive enough in trying to surround skill position players around Sam Darnold.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, I think, they're definitely lacking with the wide receiver. I'm looking at the list and, it's changing so frequently as to what's going on. And I'm with you. I was with Mims and I'm kind of questioning his durability. I know it's just a hamstring pull and that really can happen to anybody. So I'm hoping that he can really rebound off of that. And Jamison Crowder, I think he's a good wide receiver. I don't think he's this great guy that we're looking for. So I really
he could be a very good third down wide receiver. I think a go-to guy, sort of over the middle for. Listen, I think one of the advantages that Sam Darnold is going to have, and I think that I'm a huge fan of Justin Herbert out in with the LA Chargers. But you look at these young quarterbacks, Tua from Alabama, here in Miami. They're not going to have preseason games. One of the advantages that these players are going to have, especially quarterbacks, is if they know the system and they're coming back. Where you look at Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, I think he's going to be awful, and it's not going to be on him. It's just they don't have preseason, and Cincinnati doesn't have elite talent around him. So do you give an advantage that Sam Darnold was healthy and they were 6-2 in their last 8, and on paper they really improved? And you could say whatever you want. The Patriots, for the first time in a long time, are not going to be the Patriots. So do you think if Adam Gase doesn't win 9 or 10 games, do you go in a different direction?
I don't think they're going to, because I think they're gonna give him the chance to rebuild. The whole concept behind this is bringing in, and you really need 1 year for everybody to meld together, in my opinion. So I think he's got 2 more years at least. And I also think, I love Mekhi Becton. I think this kid is amazing. I don't know if you watch One Jets Drive, but
yes.
He is just incredible. And that gives Sam so much flexibility that he's blocking like that. We didn't have that. Sam was constantly running. Remember last year it was the ghosts. I'm seeing ghosts. And, this is going to give him a little bit of time. So, maybe if we don't even have that fantastic number 10 perfect star wide receiver, we've got enough components to really make some stuff happen because we've got Mekhi in there.
It's so funny because one of the things, my opening rant was just about having perspective. And I don't know who thought it was a great idea to have a young quarterback on national TV get mic'd up against at the first 8 games, the Patriots defense was one of the best defense in the history of football. So if I'm running the Jets PR department, the last thing I want to do is mic up my quarterback when I know he's going to be under siege the whole game.
Isn't it crazy? I've seen some stuff, just not to even get into politics, but I've seen some stuff going on with the political race. And I say, who is the PR person on this? It's just a common sense thing, right?
Well, you know what they say, common sense is not common. So that's the problem right there. Okay, so lastly, give us your prediction record-wise for every team in this division. You got the Bills, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Jets. The floor is yours.
Oh God, I don't know. I can't even. I really don't know what to anticipate. Only because this whole COVID thing and what's happening. You know, I don't know. I can't, Monte. I can't. I really.
It's funny because I've asked this question to a lot of people, and they're like, "We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know with COVID. We don't know what's going to happen with fans." Jerry Jones is talking about having a full stadium in Dallas when Texas is one of the hot spots, as in Florida with COVID-19, and that's going to be during flu season. So, listen, on paper.
Let me throw. I want to throw something out here too for fans to understand. The audience, and I'm an avid goer to the stadium, right? So we've been season ticket holders since I was a kid, and then now we just we're not season tickets holders any longer, but we go all the time. That momentum that you get from that stadium determines the outcome more than you think.
Especially with young players. Young players feed off that emotion. We're seeing it in the NBA bubble right now. There's no fans. So it's just, you got to, that's why I think the level of competition in the NBA has been sensational, because the NBA has done a great job. They have the virtual fans, but you talk about like 3rd and 4 defense that, it gives a guy an extra juice to sack the quarterback with no fans.
The sound factor that they can't hear the call, the audibles, the call. So, I mean, it's going to change everything. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And maybe some of the true talent might come out too, just because they don't have that sound factor. You can really see what the guys can do when they're not being influenced by all the extraneous stuff. I don't know.
It's amazing because I really think that on paper, the Bills have the best team. I think getting Stephon Diggs, another example of a young quarterback, and Josh Allen, they get a number 1 wide receiver. Yeah. And then I think it's a 3-way race for second.
I agree. I agree with you. That I would go that way as well.
So, win or lose, do you want Adam Gase on the sideline? Let's say they go 8-8. You want him back, or are you willing to turn the page on him?
I think he comes back one more year.
I do too, unfortunately, no matter what happens.
No matter what. But I think we have to give him a transition year with these new guys coming in and let them meld a little bit. And Sam's last year, because of everything that happened with the mono, and you can't really look at it. So I think I consider this like the first real year, and then we'll give him one more year after that, and then he's out.
Okay, now let's talk about your other passion, your area of expertise, healthy homes. I was watching your videos online, and I have a ton of questions. You are America's home healthy expert. First of all, how did you embark on this journey? What led you to this career path? Because most people like myself, I have allergies. I'll get a neti pot, and I think I've handled it. But you really took it to the next level.
I did. And, my first career, I was in broadcasting. My first job was I was an intern for the Howard Stern show. So I started out.
Oh my God, you must have so many stories.
I do. So I started out there, and I really thought I wanted to do broadcasting, and I ended up getting, having allergies. I worked in Manhattan in New York. And sure enough, I'm the type of person, I sink my teeth into stuff, and I started investigating it and really wanted to help people. It's been 20 years. So it's really important for people. And if I just say one message, people say, well, what's a healthy home expert doing on a football show? It's about audience. And we're at a really weird time in this country, and having a healthy home on all fronts is really important to keeping America safe. So that's why we're here to kind of promote that. And now, we're not going to be out in the stadium. We're not going to be out, tailgating. We're going to be at home, and you're going to be tempted to have parties and bring people in and watch the game. So, if we could give a few tips to be safe, that'd be great.
Talk about how people can protect themselves of things that most don't know with COVID-19. The last thing someone wants to do is go to work, protect themselves, wear a mask, social distance, go to the store, and then come home and bring not just that, bring germs and disease into the home.
That's right. So make sure, just quick tips, because, we're in a sports show here, but let's just do no shoes in the house. That's the first thing. Have your outside shoes, your inside shoes. You're not tracking things in. Studies have shown us, where this in the hospital settings, it gets tracked around on your feet. The virus can kind of linger on the bottoms of shoes. So outside, inside shoes. Make sure you're changing your filters at home. Please, HVAC systems, make sure that you're changing it more frequently. So if you change it every 3 months, change it every month and a half, or even every month, to make sure that, you've got good dander control, allergy control, particulate control. And then, if you're interested, check out UV lights, and UV applications are great for products.
So you're saying as soon as I come in, take off my shoes?
Yep. Don't have inside and outside. Make sure your shoes that you wear outside stay outside, and then you can have inside shoes. And if you have guests in the house, make sure to ask them to take their shoes off too.
I did not know this. I was watching your video on how to control moisture in your home. This can lead to allergies and other health problems. Please explain this to our listeners, because like I said, someone who has allergies like I do, I just say, okay, it's seasonal, blah, blah, blah. I'll take a Zyrtec, I'll take Claritin, but you're saying it's much more than that.
It is. And so if you just go down to Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, pick up a little hygrometer. They're like little rate, like a little readout that tells you your temperature in the house. And then it also tells you your relative humidity. You're going to just put that in your space, and you're going to want to keep your relative humidity between 30 and 50%. So if you go too high, it allows viruses to thrive as well. If you go too low, it allows virus to thrive. So that key range, that 30 to 50% is really key. So just keep 30 to 50% relative humidity. If you're getting too high, use a dehumidifier. If you're getting too low, use a humidifier. But that's like the easiest tip. So try to control that for sure.
Yes, you recommend to all your clients to get a monitor to regulate relative humidity. How much do these cost? Are they hard to find? Because like I said, watching your videos, I learned so much. But the average person listening to this doesn't know what you're talking about. So please go into that further.
Sure. So, no, they're very inexpensive. You want to spend maybe $15, $20. You can just go to any hardware store, pick up a little monitor. I wish I had one on my desk. I usually have one, but they just tell you temperature and relative humidity. And some people have them on the Nest where you can actually look at your thermostat. I like an independent one. But, and really, if you go too high with these percentages, when you feel sticky, you have moisture in your house, it leads to bugs, dust mites, mold, and then allows the virus to proliferate. If you go too low, it also allows the viruses and all kinds of colds and flu to enter your nasal passages. So keep that relative humidity within that zone, and you guys, it's going to help keep a healthy home. And we're fighting this COVID in our houses every day. So it's important to have a really good environment at home.
So going back to what you just said about you used to go to the games every year, the Jets and Giants, as far as the last I heard, they aren't allowing people to come to the stadium. So will you gather people in your home, or will you go to a friend's house and watch these games? And if so, besides, obviously I say this all the time, stop shaking people's hands, stop, talking so close, social distance. What are some other, because a lot of people are going to want to get together and watch football as part of who they are, as part of their makeup.
I think too, do the same thing they're doing other places. If you're going to have a larger gathering, rather, outside of your family, I would get one of the local. We have one of the guns, the automatic thermometers. Take some temperatures before people come in, and just say, hey, look, we really want to be safe. Maybe take their temperatures, make sure people remove their shoes. Everybody can have a mask, and obviously I don't have mine here, but I've got Jets masks, and we have Miami Dolphins fans in the house. So,
right.
Just get some masks, make it, creative, make it fun for all the games. Because look, we live for that, especially if you're a football fan. I mean, I can't even imagine the season without having this big element in our lives. So it's going to be very different. For sure.
So, okay, finally, let's just say, what is the biggest worry you have? Because I have several. The way that as a country we've handled this pandemic. I go bike riding almost every day along the Florida beach, and I don't see people social distancing. I don't see people wearing masks. I had a guy the other day say to me, you don't need to wear a mask. I told him to shut the hell up. I said, you do you, I'll do me. Like, I have no patience for these people. I am a very friendly guy, but there are certain things we're seeing the spikes, like I said, in Texas, in Florida. Governor Cuomo in New York just said we had a 1% positive COVID rate since we've implemented you must wear a mask. What has been the major failure of this nation to try to stay safe?
I think in general, like when you look at Europe and you look at us, Americans have always prided themselves on freedom and the ability to, go outside the norm and be able to experience life and not have restrictions. And it's really hard when people are being told to do things and they're like, well, I might not feel comfortable. I don't like wearing a mask, but you have to look at the big picture. We are not just each other individually. We're a huge community and we have to work together to protect it. Even if you don't do it for you and you don't care if you get COVID and you're like, well, if I get it, I die. You have to remember there's other people who have grandparents and family members and children. So it is a real thing. I mean, I've worked in the public health arena for 20 years, and this is a serious thing. It needs to be taken seriously. And even though the numbers are going down, it's something we don't want to be spreading around, and we don't want people at risk. So I think it's really important. If that's all I have to do is wear my mask when I go out, no big deal. So
I say this all the time to people. I say, I don't care if you wear a seatbelt or not. But it's a law, and you have to wear it to protect yourself. But you're not allowed to drink and drive. You're not allowed to smoke in restaurants. These are not rights. These are just things that we're doing to protect people. Wearing a mask is not going to stop me from going to a store. It's not going to stop me from going to the gym or the beach. So it's not taking away someone's rights. It's just being safe until we beat this thing, correct?
Right. And more so to understand it. We don't know about it. So to me, I'd rather wait and let them figure it out before I'm subject to it. And a lot of the problem with COVID is that it leaves long-standing effects to your immune system and heart problems, and it can contribute to all kinds of other immune issues. So that's really important. You don't want to end up with this if you don't have to. Let's wait it out and learn a little bit more about it and get familiar with it. And then maybe we can, then we can work on a vaccine and stuff like that. So to me, I don't want to get it until we know enough about it. And we
Caroline, this has been so much fun talking Jets, talking USC. Someone just put your website is very informative. So I think you have another follower. How can we follow you? How can we support you? Please put any of your videos on my page. I say this every week, and it's not to brag. I'm getting 6 to 10 million views per month on my Twitter page. People want this information. Your voice needs to be heard. Not so much about USC because I'm an Oregon guy, but definitely, about your website.
Thank you. No, it was really great to be on, and I think it's important for people to realize COVID affects us, on all levels. And I think it was really important to mix these two things together. We're both avid football fans. So healthyhomeexpert.com, or you can visit us at anything Healthy Home Expert, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So Healthy Home Expert. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me, and just everybody stay safe, please.
Caroline, thank you so much. We'll have you again on down the road. Really love your take on USC and the Jets. And you definitely made my audience smarter by bringing your knowledge. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Monte.
Have a great day. Hey guys, that was Caroline. Look, we said it from the start. We like to have multiple people who could multitask and bring their expertise to the show. Speaking of multitasking, let's just bring him right on. Owner, founder, creator, whatever you want to call it. He's the Mr. Utility guy for Nuts and Bolts Sports. Joe, how are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. Good morning, Monty. How are you doing, sir?
I was doing good, and then I realized that I have to I'm a giver, Joe. It's what I do. And this is probably the most painful moment in my sports life, but I know it's going to make you happy and put you in a better mood. I know you had problems with your phone, so you're probably a little bit salty right now. But this is going to hurt me so much. Talk to the fans about this moment, what it meant to you, and what this moment was all about.
Oh, man. This is one of the greatest moments in the last 15 years for the Yankees, man. God. This is fantastic. I think I was at a bar angry until he hit it. I think I bought a round for everybody.
Fans, what this was, Game 7, what happened?
Aaron Boone yanking one off of Tim Wakefield and that damn knuckleball that we all hated so much. One of the greatest comebacks. This was a great day, great night. Yeah, I definitely remember this.
And the Yankees went on to go on to the World Series after this Game 7 walk-off home run. Very emotional.
I am in a better mood. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, listen, you know what? I'm going to ruin that mood because I'm going to say to this day, the only time a team has ever come down from 0-3 in Major League Baseball was the Red Sox the following year when they were down 0-3, and they went on to win the first of 3 World Series. So
are we done? Is the interview over? Can I go?
Here you go, Joe. Look at that. Look what I got right there.
Oh, I feel a little better. Okay, you're on the right track now.
All right, Joe. So let's talk about the Yankees. First place, we kind of expected this. I said the Yankees and the Dodgers were the class of Major League Baseball this year. Talk about what you like about this team and what you don't like.
Well, I don't like the injuries. I mean, I feel like every day somebody new is on the injury list. This is the exact same issue that the Yankees had last season. Seems to be rearing its ugly head again this season with the injuries. So I don't like that. When we're healthy, I love the team. The addition of Garrett Cole, worth every penny. Aaron Boone still doing Aaron Boone things. I'm sure we'll talk about that over the course of this conversation. But yeah, when the team is healthy, I like what we're doing offensively. But what I don't like is just the injuries. I hope that we can get healthy in time for a playoff run. It's World Series or bust for us.
But Joe, you had that problem last year, so this is not something new. And Giancarlo Stanton, when healthy, he's phenomenal. But Joe, you got to keep this guy on the field, no?
Yeah, you have to. With the amount of money we're paying him, I mean, I saw an interview he did where he himself expressed his frustration. He put his life into this, and this is why he pays his bills. So he's clearly frustrated too. But I mean, us as Yankee fans and Yankee Nation, we're also frustrated because we saw what he did in Miami, and we thought that's the play we were getting. And like you said, when he's healthy, he produces. But he spent so much time on the injured reserve list; it's crazy.
You look at Ozuna, you look at Yelich, and you look at Giancarlo Stanton. That was the outfield for Florida that Derek Jeter basically just let them all walk. And two of the three went healthy, and Ozuna will put up 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. But two of those threes in Yelich and Stanton, when healthy, could be MVP candidates. That outfield was stacked, and Derek Jeter, gross negligence, just let them all leave.
Yeah, I have no comment on what he's trying to do down there. I know he has a plan. What's the plan? I have no idea what the hell it is. It seems like it's a lot of young players and a lot of losses.
I'll tell you what the plan is. It's a farm system for the Yankees because he's still loyal to that team, and he's given the Yankees. That's another farm system for them. All right, so you got Garrett Cole. He has been everything you thought he would be. But Joe, my question is, who's going to be the legitimate number 2 and number 3 starter in the postseason?
Well, I think, again, I'm going to say this over and over again. You might as well add this to your to the card for the drinking game we got going on for the full Monte show. We need to get that copyrighted, too, that drinking card, by the way. I'm always thinking about that kind of stuff.
Joe, look at this.
Oh, yes. Hey, what did I tell you? I said the shirt's on the way, man.
Listen,
I made
you told me that for 3 years.
I'm a little busy, Monte. Give me a break, man.
They said penitentiary orange, like I'm in jail.
There's other colors.
All right, so who's your number 2 starter back to the Yankees?
I mean, every sentence is going to start and end with when healthy. I'd say Tanaka, and then right after him, I would have to go with James Paxton. But I mean, he's also obviously out right now, injured, some forearm tightness, so we'll have to see. But it goes, I would say Cole, Tanaka, and then Paxton.
Now, Joe, we're going to talk about the NBA in a little bit and how great the bubble has been. But talk about, like, how disciplined do you have to be Major League Baseball? We saw the Florida Marlins broke protocol, 16 players, and I think 3 coaches got sick. I mean, these guys are really, really playing for a short period of time. And like you said, it's World Series or bust. You're seeing the Yankees. You're seeing the Dodgers. You're seeing teams really – it's really about who's the most dedicated, no, with this COVID-19?
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. It's following the protocols to a T. It's thinking about the greater good and not just yourself. I mean, I think I'm not sure if it's been 100% clarified, but I think that's ended up happening with the Cardinals, wasn't it? They were going out to dinner or a bar or a nightclub or something of that sort, and that's how they ended up getting COVID and spreading it throughout the clubhouse. So it's about being dedicated. It's about thinking about the next man next to you and not just about yourself.
Okay, Joe, we played it at the top of Aaron Boone hitting that home run in Game 7, walk-off home run, 100 wins as the Yankee manager in his first season, 103 wins his second season. There is a lot of pressure to be the Yankees manager. There's a lot of pressure to be the Lakers coach. There's a lot of pressure, to be the Duke coach who follows up Mike Krzyzewski. What do you like about Boone? Because I hear a lot of Yankee fans say the term, first of all, explain what this means to the casual baseball fan, over-managing.
He overthinks situations all the time. Things like an example would be like a pitcher's on a roll, and maybe he's at that 100 pitch count, And a lot of veteran managers, I think of a lot of veterans like a Tony La Russa would let that person finish out the inning or maybe even pitch another inning. He'll overthink it and say, well, the analytics say that when he gets over 100 pitches, his ERA is that, and the third. He'll pull that pitcher. And then more times than not, the person he brings out the bullpen, even though our bullpen is solid, they might make a bad pitch and it ends up giving that team the tying run or the game-winning run. He just doesn't let a lot of the flow of the game go with ease. A lot of the time he spends overthinking things, I think.
So, I mean, you win 100 games, you're successful. You win 103 games, you're successful. But I say this all the time. The two worst coaches to win a championship was Davey Johnson of the 86 Mets and Mike Ditka of the 85 Bears. Both of those teams should have won 2 or 3. So on paper, you say to yourself, Aaron Boone, with the talent he has, is doing what he needs to do. But do you think he's a good in-game manager? You're saying no.
The track record and what I've seen, I say no. But like you said, I think the talent the Yankees have, again, with that same famous phrase, when healthy, it's enough to get the job done in spite of Aaron Boone.
By the way, Joe, people are commenting about your beautiful headset. That is a nice thing right there. Wow.
Trying to be like
Amazon?
You, man. Trying to be like you. You know, half my paycheck goes to Amazon, Monte. You already know that.
Listen, I could literally put his kids through college with the amount of money I've spent over the past month. All right, Joe, before we talk about give us your prediction for the World Series, who's in it and who wins?
Ooh, I'm going to go with the classic matchup, man. I think it's going to be the Dodgers and the Yankees. And I think that, I'm going to pick the Yankees, even though I think the Dodgers pitching staff can give us a run for their money. And if the Dodgers ended up beating us in the World Series, I think it'd be because of pitching. But I'm going to say those are the two. That's going to be two teams in the World Series. It's going to be us and the Dodgers, and I have us winning.
Now, Joe, I say this about Duke basketball. I don't care if they win it. I just want to get them to the Final Four. Is it a successful season to you as a Yankee fan if you get to the World Series?
I'm going to say yes, only because it's been so long since we've been there and won it. I mean, 2009, the last time we won it, we won a World Series with A-Rod in our team, which seems like ages ago. So just to be able to make it and say, hey, we made it to the show, I think that's good enough for me. But I mean, obviously, if we make it there, I want to win it.
All right, Joe, let's move towards the NBA. But before we get to the bubble, I want to talk about your Washington Wizards. Listen, Joe, it's time to break this team up. John Wall can never stay healthy. Bradley Beal I think Bradley Beal is a better version of C.J. McCullough on the Portland Trailblazers. And that's saying a lot because C.J. McCullough can defend and score. Get some draft picks for Bradley Beal. Break up this team. They're not going to be better than Boston. They're not going to be better than Toronto. They're not going to be better than a slew of teams. The Brooklyn Nets will probably get to the finals based on Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So why are you keeping the Washington Wizards together? Break it up. I'm done with them, just like I'm done with the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm done, Joe. I'm done.
We've never had a chance to see the team as a whole. You got to remember, it's not just about the knee injury and the Achilles of John Wall.
John Wall can't stay healthy.
Yeah, he's finally healthy. Like he hasn't played basketball in a year and a half. All the guy's been doing is working out nonstop. I need to see Rui Hachimura, Bradley Beal, and John Wall all healthy on the floor together. Give me at least 25 games so we can see what we got there. If you see that the chemistry is not there, it's not working out, or God forbid Wall gets hurt again, then I understand what you're saying. I say you do move a piece, you move on, you get some draft picks and reset. But even when Wall and Beal were playing together, Wall still wasn't healthy, dealing with the plantar fasciitis and other nagging injuries that according to him are all gone.
Props for saying that term.
Practice all morning. Practice all morning.
Joe, but here's the thing, Joe. I mean, you look at the East, Boston's going to be better. The Brooklyn Nets, you see what they're doing against Toronto with no talent. Once they get DeAndre Jordan, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Spencer Dinwiddie, I mean, the Nets are going to be great next year. Milwaukee, I think Giannis is going to leave, so they'll be lower. But is the goal just to win 50 games and get to the second round of the playoffs? Or is the goal to make a legitimate run? Why not do what the Golden State has done or Dallas has done? Rebuild, reset, trade these guys now where they have value. Because I don't think together they are a legitimate Eastern Conference Finals. They're not better than Boston. They're not better than Toronto. And they're not better than the team that's going to win 60 games next year, the Brooklyn Nets.
Well, that part I agree. They're definitely not better than those three teams. But again, just for me personally, I have to see it all together, all the parts. I need to see if we can get re-sign our sharpshooter and have him back on our team as well. I just need to see it all together. And I'm definitely quick to pull the trigger. Let's say the season's 35, 40 games in and we're not doing anything. You see no improvement from Washington, then yeah, Tommy Shepard needs to pick up the phone and see what you can get for some of these parts we have.
Listen, again, that's one of the things. I'm done with the Sixers. I'm done with the Wizards. I'm done with them. We're talking to Joe Cardozo, the owner operator of Nuts and Bolts Sports on the Full Monte Sports Show. Joe, now it's going to be fun because I want to talk about every series in the NBA right now. The first thing we got to talk about, look, Lakers are up 2-1 against Portland. It was Dame time in game one. The Lakers have made adjustments. I said this all year long. I was actually wrong. Because let me just break it down. I was talking to my friend Andrea, and I said, look, you need Kyle Kuzma on the floor because you can't win a game against Portland by playing great defense. You got to play great offense. I was wrong because as I put the NBA background up there, the Lakers have shut them down over the past 2 games. So you can win with defense in the fourth quarter. You don't need to outscore them. Break this series down. Lakers, Portland.
Oh, I think it starts and ends with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, I mean, we saw vintage LeBron James, which if I'm a Portland Trailblazers fan, you should be terrified because I saw LeBron locked in yesterday. And if he takes that kind of focus moving forward, it's a wrap on this series. I mean, I still think the Lakers are going to win the series. But if they get that kind of focus and performance from LeBron James moving forward, the rest of the Western Conference should be on high alert. But I think if you're the Lakers, it starts and ends with Anthony Davis. I mean, this guy is he's one of, if not the best player on the team. I mean, you always have LeBron, facilitator, a walking triple-double, but Anthony Davis is just a matchup nightmare.
Joe, I said this at the beginning. There's no reason why throughout the series and next series, Anthony Davis can't be like Moses Malone. And again, a lot of fans don't know this. The Philadelphia 76ers in 1983, when Moses said faux, 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 to talk about the sweep, and they were dominant. They swept the Lakers and Magic Johnson, and Moses Malone averaged over 30 points and 15 rebounds. Anthony Davis should average over 30 points and 15 rebounds every game to the NBA Finals. Am I wrong to say that?
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, the kid's a stud. And also, too, we have to remember this is all new to him. Yes, he was on New Orleans Pelicans, and they had that series against that team from Golden State I hate so much, where he performed really, really well. But he's never been put in these kind of situations where the spotlight's on him, all eyes are on him. The NBA playoffs is a different level, bubble or no bubble. It's the only show in town. Yes, people are watching Major League Baseball, Stanley Cup playoffs are exciting, but a majority of sports fans are watching the NBA and they're watching every single playoff game. A lot of pressure. That's a different, unique perspective for Anthony Davis, and I think that he should be averaging 30 and 15. He's awesome.
Listen, Daniel Goodwin, who's been on the show covering the Bears, on point with the Washington topic. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate a compliment when I get one. I agree. Listen, George, the other George Lopez has been on the show numerous times. That was tremendous. Putting Anthony Davis at the 5 spot. I don't know what the Portland Trailblazers coaching staff did yesterday, but they started 2 bigs, and this to me showed how he panicked because you lose a game 1, and the Portland Trailblazers' strength for casual NBA fans is to go small. Play all their small force, Gary Trent Jr., Carmelo Anthony, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, and you put Nurkic as the 5 who can shoot the 3. But he changed his whole game plan. We're going to go big against the Lakers. That's playing right into the Lakers' hands, is it not?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And it also showed it didn't work, obviously, because they lost the game. So, I mean, the interesting thing is going to be to see what he does now. Is he going to revert back to that small lineup, which I think he should have all the time? Or is he going to try to see if Hassan Whiteside and having Nurkic in the court at the same time will work? If I was him, if I'm Terry Stotts, I'm going back to, stick with the girl you brought to the dance, man.
Exactly. Don't be looking at other women when you're out on a romantic dinner date. Focus on the woman.
That doesn't end very well. That never ends well.
You brought up vintage LeBron James. I said last week that Kyrie Irving hitting the shot in Game 7 of Golden State Warriors was the greatest greatest clutch shot in the history of the NBA. I think this is the greatest. It's not?
I mean, the Ray Allen, Miami Heat three-pointer.
That was game 6, wasn't game 7.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Okay, Joe and I always disagree about all-time.
That's what makes it fun, man.
Wait, I'm waiting for Joe to say what he said a few weeks ago.
I almost pulled it out.
I have no facts to back that up, but you're wrong. So, Joe, this is the greatest defensive play in the history of the NBA Finals. LeBron James blocking Andre Iguodala in the last 2 minutes of a game by an open layup. What do you think?
Oh, I agree 100%. Man, Monte, I'm the reigning vice president of the Golden State Warrior Hater Club. So, I mean, that was a great moment for me. I had some tears in my eyes when he made that block shot.
Joe, you bring that up. And again, we have plenty of time. So there's something that's happening to me. And I don't know what's going on because this is not me. But I saw this picture the other day. Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, the Packers drafted a quarterback with their first-round pick out of Utah State, Jordan Love. And I got emotional, right? After the Lakers lost the first game, I talked to my friend Andrea. They should actually bring up a drinking game every time I mention our sports conversations. And I said to her, I couldn't sleep last night because the Lakers lost. Joe, this is not who I am, but it reminds me of the Seinfeld episode. I'm getting emotional over these sporting events, and that's not me. I was upset seeing the Aaron Rodgers, it's coming to an end. I was emotional when the Lakers lost, like Seinfeld. Tears. What is a salty discharge? That's not who I am. What's happening to me?
You've missed sports that much. That's what it was, man. It's happening to all of us.
Well,
being on quarantine and lockdown, you realize how much you really missed the games. I know I did.
I could literally write a book. I could really like the screenplay of the 40-Year-Old Virgin Part 2 since COVID-19 because I'm not going on any dates anytime soon. So it's all sports. I'm sorry, Joe.
You're fine, man. Hey, our lawyers are always at the ready, man. Between you and Rico, always at the ready.
I could literally write a screenplay, the 40-Year-Old Virgin Part 2. Since I won't even go out on a date. I'm not even going to risk it. Look, okay, let's move on. Listen, he might not play today, but Luka Doncic was the youngest player since only 3 people have done this: Magic Johnson and LeBron James to have a triple-double. For those of you who don't know what a triple-double is in the NBA, it's when you score more than 10 points, have more than 10 rebounds, and more than 10 assists. Breakdown, the Clippers are leading 2-1. Does Dallas have a shot?
With Luka's not playing, I say no. I say you're going to get a heavy dose of Porzingis, which is great. He's been playing some really good basketball, but man, that was playoff championship Kawhi we saw last game. It's almost like LeBron James saw what Kawhi Leonard did and said, "Okay, hold my beer," because Kawhi played really, really well. And of course, the narrative now that's being pushed is Paul George not showing up in the playoffs again and playoff P and blah blah blah. He doesn't have to, man. Kawhi Leonard's playing out of his mind. No, I think if Luka's not able to play, not at 90%, 85%, I think it's a wrap for the Dallas Mavericks.
Joe, am I wrong in saying this? But it almost seems like every series Doc Rivers gets schooled one way or another. They're spreading them out. They're driving and kicking. I think Doc Rivers is a great motivator, but as an X and O guy, he is so overrated.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think that his championship he won with the Boston Celtics proved that. And you can say, yes, he had 3 all-time great players, but at the same time, he had to make that work. And if you remember that Celtics team in 2008, Rajon Rondo was a headache. He was definitely causing a lot of rifts and problems and drama in that team, and he was able to get that team to come together and play winning basketball. I think that he's learning something new every game against the Mavericks. And like I said, when you got Kawhi Leonard on your squad, and you also got to understand that at some point, Paul George is going to get out this funk and be the Paul George we expect him to be. I think Doc Rivers is fine. I think that's overrated.
Joe, is Luka Doncic the best young player in the NBA, as this Andrea says right here?
Yes.
If not him, you're starting a franchise. You're starting a franchise. Everyone under 25, you're taking him.
Ooh. Man, see, none of these questions are ever in the emails, Monte. I just want to let you know. Yeah, we'll talk ball. Talk to you Sunday. Word, thanks, Monte. Sounds cool. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, now, listen, I'm taking him. You might want to take Devin Booker, but just overall, because Luka has the ball in his hands all the time.
Exactly.
So you think of young point guards. Some people might want to take Damian Lillard. Some people will still take Steph Curry. But young point guards, I really believe that you're going to take Luka first as well. So, Joe, let's go to Denver, Utah. Again, I know you don't like this, but a Duke boy, Quinn Snyder. We saw Mike Conley, who came back after the bubble, played an absolute gem of a game. And Quinn Snyder, the coach of Utah, what they're doing is they're saying, anyone gets the rebound, Rudy Gobert sprint the floor. We're gonna exploit the Joker, the Denver center, because he's slow. They're using pick and rolls. These games haven't even been competitive. If you remember the first game, Utah was up 20. They blew the lead over the last 80 minutes. The Denver Nuggets have been outscored by 53 points. What the hell has happened to Denver?
Oh, Quinn Snyder's taking these boys to school. That's what's happening with Denver. I mean,
what school did Quinn?
He went to Duke. He went to Duke. Yeah.
Joe's a North Carolina fan, so.
He went to Duke. This has been the Quinn Snyder show. I mean, he's showing everybody why. If you remember, what was it, 2-3 years ago? Considered one of the best young coaches in the NBA. And then Utah kind of got stagnant. People stopped talking about him in that regard. I think he's proving that's why he should still be in that regard. No, it's been excellent. And Donovan Mitchell has been incredible.
Not just Donovan Mitchell. I think their role players have really, really stepped up. And I just think, I used to say this all the time with Pat Riley. Okay, Pat Riley used to coach every game like it's game 7, so that those Miami teams did not really take it to the next level. That's why they lost to the Knicks. They just couldn't go to the level 3 or 4. I think the same thing could be said about Malone in Denver. He coaches every game like it's a must-win, and I don't think they have a second gear. Do you think the Jazz continue this, or does Denver bounce back tonight at 9 p.m. when they play?
Well, one thing people got to think about, too, is playing in the bubble. Like, how much motivation do you have when you're down 3-0 to keep on playing? Man, I've been stuck in this situation for 2 months now. I can go home, be with my family. Do we have a chance to beat this team? I wonder personally how many players and teams are thinking that, the teams that are down 3-0, even 2-0 in some of these playoffs.
Or 2-1 in this case. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, that's a great point.
We're going to find out a lot about Denver this next game. And I mean, Denver's I don't know, man. It's a lot of talented players, but it's like a hodgepodge. It don't really mesh together. And I think that's being exposed in this series, because I thought Denver was going to win this thing hands down. I thought it'd be Utah would be lucky if they won a game. And again, like we said.
Yeah, no, listen, I think. And what's amazing is you're looking at the second round. If the Lakers win and Utah win, the Lakers are going to play Utah because they reseed in the NBA. And that means the Clippers will probably play Houston. So let's talk about that. We're talking to Joe Cardozo, the owner of Nuts and Bolts Sports, live on the Full Monte Sports Show. We're going to get Rico and Levi on in about 10 minutes. I see them anxiously awaiting. And Levi looks so scholastic in his background with all those books. We'll bring that up in a minute. So, Joe, Houston, listen, the Oklahoma City Thunder, their 3 guards yesterday did a tremendous job. They beat them playing small. Steven Adams has been up and down, but Oklahoma City Thunder last night in overtime took control not only of the game, but I think Billy Donovan is now starting to outcoach Mike D'Antoni. Do they have a shot? They're down 2-1.
Yeah, I give OKC a shot to tie the series up, but I still think at the end of the day, oh man, I'm just adding on to the drinking game. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the Rockets are going to win the series. I think just too much James Harden, and I didn't check before we got on the air, but I needed to find out what's going on with Steven Adams. I know he left last game with a knee injury and was out for the remainder of the game. Is he going to be able to play the next game? And then what's the latest with Russell Westbrook as well?
Yeah, I don't think Russell Westbrook is going to play because the last they said he's still doing bicycle. He hasn't even done full practices yet, and Steven Adams should be a game-time decision. So you think the Rockets take this series? Will it go more than 5 games?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Chris Paul, where was this at when you played for the Clippers? This is the playoff Chris Paul we've been waiting for. Number 1, he's healthy, but number 2, the performances. I mean, he was awesome last night. Okay,
Joe, let's move to the East, the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee Bucks, the number 1 seed. The Orlando Magic, the number 8 seed. Joe, here's what I'm going to say, and people maybe they'll understand this reference. Mike Tyson, I laugh when boxing historians or people talk boxing with me, and they say Mike Tyson is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and here's why. Mike Tyson never had a plan B, Joe. If you last past 5-6 rounds, he never won a close decision in 12 rounds. Mike Tyson would quit after 6 rounds and just look for the haymaker once he became a heavyweight champion. It's the same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks. If Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, is not driving and scoring 35 points, they have no plan B. Am I wrong in saying this? They're going to beat the Orlando Magic, but they're going to lose in the second round, and Giannis is going out west.
I don't know about that. I think Chris Middleton's held his own. I think he had a rough couple of. I think it was the first game was really, really rough. But I think there's other players on Milwaukee that can play. Chris Middleton's a decent player. I think that probably the one guy on their team that I always wonder why is he in the starting lineup, except for maybe he can do a pretty good job on defense. It's Eric Bledsoe. I'd much prefer to see George Hill on there. DiVincenzo's getting better game by game. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with that part. If Giannis is not scoring 30 points, there's other players in Milwaukee that can step up and do the deal, but he definitely is the main contributor for that squad.
So you think the Bucks have a legitimate chance to go to the NBA Finals?
Yeah, I think I do. I think that team is very hungry. I mean, that was the expectation last season, and they got gut punched. And all they talked about this whole offseason, especially Giannis, is wanting to get back in the playoffs, redemption, the revenge tour, all that good talk. And this is their opportunity to do it. I'm sure they didn't expect to do it in a bubble, but they're there. I think Milwaukee has a legit chance to make it out the East. Okay,
Joe, Toronto versus the Brooklyn Nets. The Raptors are obviously going to win this series. Before we talk about how dangerous the Raptors will be, tell me why Jacque Vaughn should not coach this team next year when Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, DeAndre Jordan, Spencer Dinwiddie come back. Jacque Vaughn has this team playing and competing with a bunch of practice squad players, and they've all gotten better since he's coached them despite COVID-19 and all the restrictions.
Yeah, I think that every game, Jacque Vaughn does more and more to strengthen his resume. I think that if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm giving him a real legit shot at this job. And of course, it's going to come down to KD and Kyrie Irving. Are they comfortable with him being the head man? But from what I've seen from his performance so far in Orlando, yeah, he should definitely be in the consideration for the head coaching job. And like you said, they got a bunch of ex-Applebee's servers and guys that work in the warehouse at Costco playing on their basketball team, and they're still giving him maximum effort every game. They've been impressive.
I think one of their players actually delivered to me during COVID-19 for Amazon. So,
Wouldn't doubt it. That's been crazy.
Okay, so Miami's going to beat the Indiana Pacers. I think if the Pacers had their center, they would win. So, Joe, before we talk about nuts and bolts sports, give us your Eastern Conference, Western Conference, and NBA Finals matchups.
Oh, man. So in the Eastern Conference Finals, you want to know who I have in the finals or who I have coming out of the East and coming out of the West?
I want to know who you have in the Eastern Conference Finals, the two teams, the Western Conference Finals, and then the NBA champion.
In the East, I'm going to go. I know you hate him, but I'm a fan of Spo, man. I'm going to go Miami Heat.
Oh,
I know. You always bash Coach Spo.
He's never been past the second round of the NBA playoffs without LeBron.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this later on down the playoffs. So I say Miami versus Milwaukee, and then I think in the Western Conference we're going to have a battle of LA. I think.
And who goes to the finals?
We're going to say Clippers, Milwaukee, and I think the Clippers win the whole thing. Although I hope I'm wrong because I'm a LeBron James fan. I love to see the Lakers make it, but just seeing some of the horrendous shooting from the three-point range from the Lakers and the free throw issues, I think the Clippers can make it out of there.
It's funny, Joe, because this is an offensive league, and we're seeing the Lakers win with defense. The Clippers have not played defense. Now, I know I didn't realize this. I thought the Dallas Mavericks were the number one team this year in offensive efficiency. They're the number one team in the history of the NBA for this season for offensive efficiency. And when it comes to the Miami Heat, I'm expecting you to say, Monte, I have no facts, but you're wrong. And I know Rico's going to laugh hearing that because he loves that. Monte, I have no facts, but you're wrong. So that is really good. All right, Joe, thank you so much for that. Now let's talk about something you're passionate about, I'm passionate about. Look at the numbers.
Yes, sir.
In both sports. We're up 395% on YouTube in the last 28 days. And people tell me all the time, good luck on your show, break a leg. And I say this, when you have 395% of the population behind you, you don't need luck.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of things going on. Obviously, the YouTube push, a lot of great content coming on. We have your show, obviously. Every Wednesday, we have No Huddle Necessary, hosted by Jeff Barnes. It's kind of like Nuts and Bolts Sports version of Around the Horn. with NFL topics and our writers being on there. Another show that I'm really happy about is called Beyond the Game. It's hosted by Zach Darves, and that's basically taking things off the court, social justice issues, kind of what's going on in sports as far as people that are using their platform to help their communities and to help bring light to different issues around the world. So his show is every month. And then, of course, something else I'm very excited for is we also have a sponsorship now, finally. So we have a Celsius. We're going to be we're brand ambassadors for them. So I got a case coming to you, Monte, in less than a year. I promise.
Okay, so I'll get it in 2023. Is that correct?
Nah, sooner rather than later. And then myself along with Ashmere are putting together an online store here soon too that we'll have with a bunch of Nuts and Bolts sports merch people can get. So I'm excited for that as well.
Joe, repeat that.
You've been getting beat down.
Repeat that.
The online store is coming.
Here.
Yeah. Hey, so do I, man. I have like 3 shirts. I need more than that. No, it's coming. Ashmere and myself are hard at work at that. We'll have shirts, polos. We'll have stickers, hoodies. It's on the way. It's on the way.
And Joe, talk about the growth, obviously, with the YouTube, but just, the articles that are coming out. I said this to you a couple of months ago. I said, I remember when I was writing articles and my articles would be the top 3 in NFL for like a week. Now I write an article and it's like the 9th one after 2 days.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible, man. The staff has just been, I say it all the time, it's not me, it's we. The staff has just been incredible. And I think that one of the things I'm most proud of is, of course, yes, we're all dealing with this pandemic. We're in lockdown, but the growth for Nuts and Bolts Sports has just gone like triple because of all the content coming out. And it's not just throwing articles up there just for the sake of throwing articles up there. It's quality content that we're putting up there. So I'm just really, really proud of the team as a whole. For sure.
Joe, I'm going to throw this out there. Then we're going to get Rico and Levi on and let you go. And thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
But LeBron James said in game 2, hey, man, we're made differently. He kept saying that. We're made differently. Why not Nuts and Bolts Sports logo? Steal it from your idol, LeBron. We're made differently. I love that LeBron did that. I love that he said that. Nuts and Bolts Sports, we're made differently. I mean, I'm just throwing it out.
I like that. I know. I like that. We got some things cooking up. It's really me being quiet and listening to Ashmere's ideas and asking. But I'd say it's a collaboration. But we got some things coming.
I'm going to call her out because I've been wanting to get Ashmere on this show since we started, and she's not coming on. Is it a personal vendetta against Monte?
No comment there, man.
She's an Oregon Duck. She's an Oregon Duck girl.
Alumni, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. So, maybe the time difference. It's not. I mean, sometimes you gotta wake up. You gotta pay to play, man. I know she's out in California, but sometimes you gotta pay to play.
It's probably me. But that's okay. No, thanks so much. How can we support you? How can we follow you? Tell people where to go to, everything Nuts and Bolts Sports.
Well, of course. Hey, thanks for having me on, Monte. I think that's 2 of my contractual obligations to be on the show, so I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's so fast with the second one, so I appreciate that. But no, I'd say nutsandboltsports.com for all the articles. You can see the latest from YouTube, our podcast, which is incredible. If somebody told me I'd have 10 podcasts on my network, I would have called you a liar. So nutsandboltsports.com, you can follow us at Nuts and Bolts SP, and we're everywhere. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok now for some reason. We're on there as well. And then you can follow me at Joe Cardozo 301. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Because I text Joe and I said, hey, Joe, and I gave him the numbers. I'm like, the show's doing great. And he's like, yeah, but why didn't you wear the Nuts and Bolts polo last week?
Branding, man. I need to talk to LC, man. She has the marketing bug. We need to have a conversation.
Joe, not only that, you need to get a coffee sponsorship, right? I mean, coffee is your passion. Look at that little sign there. What does that say? But
first coffee every day, man. Where do you think I'm going as soon as I get off the air? I haven't gotten my cup yet today.
Joe, have you gotten a Keurig yet?
You've been bashing me that for like 2 years, man. No, I have not. You know what?
You use Starbucks every day.
I will not deny. I will not confirm that. You know what? I was going to get a Keurig, and then I saw like the espresso machine that Kalindi, one of our social media members, has. I have to have one. I know the price is through the roof. I got to have one of those, man.
Joe, the price is through the roof, but you spend $3 to $5 every day. You got to wait in line at Starbucks. You got to drive there. Just bite the bullet and, look for some sponsorship. Maybe they'll give you, a Keurig.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. I might do that.
All right, Joe, thanks so much. Love having you on. Appreciate everything you do for me. Appreciate everything you do for Nuts and Bolts Sports. Have a great Sunday, man.
You do the same. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Appreciate the support.
Okay, we were talking to Joe Cardozo. When we come back, we are going to have Rico Show Me the Money Graziano on, and we're going to have Levi. And yes, we are going to 1 o'clock today. For those of you who are watching, you're listening to the full Monte Sports Show, Sports and Comedy. We were All right, Levi, love the background there. You look so Oh, no. Wait a minute. Look at that. Did Rico send that to you?
Rico didn't say a word, but I'm trying to be like Rico. And
Levi,
yeah.
The one thing you want to do, my friend said to me with all my fantasy football drafts, they said, but you listen to Rico. I said, I do the opposite. As a man, you want to be the opposite of Rico.
Maybe when it comes to fantasy football, but not when it comes to being a man.
Rico, how are you today, Rico?
I'm a little distraught. I heard Joe. I thought he gave me a shout out. I literally walked away for 2 seconds, and I heard Rico, and I came walking back in all excited. And I was like, did Joe just give me a shout out? And Melissa looks at me and she goes, no, he just said that you keep his lawyers busy because you're inappropriate.
That is true.
Oh,
that is
so
true.
much the 3 steps of excitement of turning around to go hear what Joe had to say. And I was like, oh, my God, what did Joe say about me? And that's what he said.
So Rico, I started the show because talking about, people were making fun of Mike Conley because here's Mike Conley, the Utah Jazz, because Mike Conley, said he left the NBA bubble. And Mike Conley left the NBA bubble to be with his wife and kids. And they were calling him not a man. They're saying he's not a man. He should be with his teammates. And my argument was, what's better than being a man than being there for your wife and kid? And it reminded me of, I used to listen to the Michael Kay show. Michael Kay is the voice of the New York Yankees. And he had a show, he still does, on ESPN Radio in New York. And this guy, John, from Hoboken, used to call every day. And John from Hoboken called one time in October, and he's like, Mike, I can't be watching. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I can't watch football and tell them to be tough or college football when they're wearing pink. He's like, Mike, they're Marys. First of all, the term Mary, what are you, from 1950? Like, he's saying real men don't wear pink. And he was totally wrong. And Mike said, don't ever call my show again. You're a joke. Don't even listen to the show. So I agree with him. It was stupid. But the world has become insane, Rico. What right is wrong. What's wrong is right. That lies become truth. So let's just, for argument's sake, say that Joe from Hoboken saying you can't be a real man wearing pink. What's going on here, Rico?
Well, as we know, as Mike said, that Joe is wrong. What are you talking about? That's a beautiful pink. Look how nice I wear it. With
Is
the
that
jeans
salmon or is that pink?
It's the yellow flower that would get me a little concerned. But besides that, I think that's a solid, right, Levi? Is that a solid shirt or what?
That's a super solid shirt. I love it.
Is it salmon or is it pink, Rico?
It's actually, surprisingly, you're right. It is salmon, but I love that it was a 5-minute lead-in to this shirt. I had no idea where you were going. I was like, what is he going? Yes, it's good to be with your family. I was trying to figure a response, but now, I mean, I actually look really good there. That should be my profile picture.
Well, you look good because your son looks like Melissa. So he makes you more attractive because he's so adorable. So they're not focusing on you. They're focusing on how adorable he is. Okay, so that put you in a good mood. Levi, I want to put you in a good mood. Talk about this right here. Last year, one could argue that when the Bills beat the Dallas Cowboys last year, that was the best win in the franchise in the last decade. Am I wrong thinking that?
No, definitely not wrong, especially given that it was a primetime game. The Bills historically do poorly in primetime, so it made me very happy. But that picture of Josh Allen, just got me a little bit scared because I saw today that he didn't report to practice. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, well, do we know what happened with that?
No, I'm not sure. They'll fill us in later, I'm sure. It's probably maybe just a day off. I don't know.
Okay, Levi, let's talk about this. Okay, Stephon Diggs was unhappy in Minnesota. The wide receiver is now in Buffalo. He has been saying for years he's number one. So here's what I expect. 90 catches, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. That's a number one wide receiver, Levi.
So first of all, with your projections, just in general, as a general comment, I think your projections are a little bit high in general. But with this one specifically, it's too high. I love him, and he's definitely a number one. He's probably top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. But those numbers are really high. The Bills simply don't pass the ball that often. And there's also John Brown and Cole Beasley on that team. So they're going to get their touches. They both got over 100 targets last year. They're going to see around that this year. They brought in another running back who's a pass-catching back. And they have Dawson Knox at tight end, who is going into his second year. He's going to have more than 50 passes. He had 50 last year. So I don't see any way that Diggs has enough targets to get to those numbers.
Okay, as someone said, Rico was in the picture. I just thought it was his son. No one pays attention to you, Rico. So we're going to move to that. But Levi, let me just go back to this, okay? Because, like I said, Rico tells me sometimes you text him and you're angry. I just said to you 90 catches for Diggs, and you're being polite. You're like, it's a little high. As a number one wide receiver on any team in the NFL, if you're a playoff team, 90 catches shouldn't be too high.
It depends on the offense. The Bills are a run-first offense, and they just drafted a running back in the third round, plus Josh Allen runs. So there's only going to be maybe 400 targets all year, and you're expecting 90 of those to go to Diggs. I just think it's too many. He's still number one, and number one means you catch the balls that are given to you in critical moments. I still believe that he'll do that, but I just don't see the targets.
Okay, Rico, I did my fantasy football draft yesterday, and how insane is this? I had someone pick DK Metcalf as in the second round. Look at Levi's face right there. In the second round.
I didn't even know. He doesn't even show up on our radar. Does he?
He's going to have 70, 80 catches with Seattle. He's a good wide receiver. But the second round?
Second. I don't think he'd make it to our sixth. What do you think, Levi?
Yeah, somewhere around there. But, I mean, I would take Tyler Lockett above him for sure. And not in the second round. The second round, you take a Julio Jones, a DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, Tyreek Hill. I don't know what that is.
No, Levi yells at me. Levi never yells at me. Just want to make that clear. Me and yesterday we were talking and we brought up our like a general team. Like, let's say we talked about the Bills. I forgot what team it was. And we both were like, who cares? Who on that team is my fantasy player? And we both admitted, like, we both know Pittsburgh and Buffalo most likely won't win the Super Bowl. So the reality is that we're all fantasy all day, all night. That's it. We've pushed our chips in.
Okay, before we get to the next question, I'm going to ask both of you guys, as I have the Steelers here, who has more wins, Rico, Buffalo or Pittsburgh? You go first.
Oh, that's actually a really good question. You know what? I think I don't want to say Buffalo, but I feel like their division is much weaker because we don't know. You know, they're clearly the favorite in that division, and if the Patriots are the way they're falling apart before the season starts, they look like they're falling apart. I think that it would be. I think that I could say the Bills. I'd give it to the Bills just because they have a weaker division. To where Pittsburgh's division, you know, you got the Bengals who nobody knows anything about. Then you got Cleveland. And then you got, Lamar Miller and that team that he's on, because you put Lamar anywhere.
Okay, look, so you're saying Buffalo. Listen, George Lopez agrees with you, Levi. He says 70, 75 catches is a good season for him. Who has more wins, the Bills or the Steelers?
I would say the Bills too, but I hesitate to say that just because I've had so much trauma from the Bills. But on paper, the Bills should definitely do it.
Okay, Rico. I feel like Saquon Barkley is being overlooked here. I was watching the NFL Network, and they had him as the 7th ranked running back because they think they're going to be a pass-happy offense. Tell me why the Giants running back should or shouldn't be the number 2 back off the board behind Christian McCaffrey.
Well, he is in most and any of the pro leagues where people really, really know what they're doing, who do studying, who are like me and Levi. They have an extra friend to run things by, and they talk about he is number 2 off the board in general. He's on the top. He's like, when you look at him, you have to think about like a jumbo jet. He's just a beast. And when he's behind there and he's behind center and they're about to snap the ball, he starts to build up and you hear the engine going. And once he crosses that line, he becomes a track star. Like you don't see, like a jumbo jet, you don't see a jumbo jet going 200 miles per hour on the ground before it takes off. And that's what he does. He just breaks through that line. And again, I honestly, if it wasn't for how great Christian McCaffrey is, he would be off the board number 1.
Levi, he's the 2nd running back taken off the board, right?
For me, it would probably be Zeke. I could definitely see the argument for Saquon, but I just like the consistency with Zeke. Zeke may not have a higher ceiling, but he's got a higher floor, in my opinion. He pretty much always gets you 10-plus points in fantasy football every single
week. And for those who don't know, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Zeke is Ezekiel Elliott from the Dallas Cowboys. So you're saying that he's going to have more fantasy points than Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants?
That's not exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I prefer him. Because in fantasy football, you need to win the week. You don't need to win the season. You need to win the week. And Zeke is more consistent week to week.
I love.
And he's already had COVID. And he's already had COVID.
Very true.
By the way, I love how Levi's trying to be polite and say, it's not what I'm saying. So he's basically saying to Joe, but he's taking it to another level. He's saying, I have facts and you're wrong, Monte. Okay, so listen, I got into an argument with Rico last week. Okay, he was telling me that Joe Mixon is a better running back, fantasy football-wise, than Derrick Henry. Over the past 3 years, Mixon has 2,900 yards, 21 touchdowns. Henry, 3,300 yards, 26 touchdowns. And for explosiveness, he had a 99-yard touchdown and a 78-yard touchdown run. Mixon, 41 and 51. In what planet are we living on that Joe Mixon is better than Derrick Henry? Levi, you first.
Okay, first of all, I don't think that he's better. I think they're both equal. Derrick Henry was the rushing leader last year, so last year he was better. I would agree with Rico and take Mixon over Henry if it's half PPR or PPR. I don't know if your audience knows what that is, but
explain that.
In fantasy football, there's standard, which is no point per reception, and then there's half PPR, which means you get a half a point for every reception your running back or receiver gets, or
Correct.
Full PPR, which is a full point. Now, in half PPR, which all our leagues are, I prefer Mixon because he averages 2+ catches every single week. Henry does not. Now, let me finish. Hold on one second. Henry is going top 5. We've already seen Henry bust. In 2018, he finished the year as RB14. However, through weeks 1 through 14, he was RB37. In fantasy football, the playoffs start in week 14, which means in 2018, if you drafted Derrick Henry, you did not make the playoffs. So to me, I'd rather take a guy who's not dependent on the coach giving him the rock every single down. I'd rather take a guy who's involved in the passing game as well.
I totally get what you're saying. Mixon is more of a dual threat, meaning he could catch and he could run. But here's what I'm going to say, and then, Rico, you could respond, because I know you agree with Levi, and I think you're both insane, respectively.
Yeah, listen, after what he just said, I heard a mic drop. That's what I heard. I don't know about anybody else, but I just heard the bing.
So here's what I'm going to say. The entire world knows that Derrick Henry is going to get the ball 25 to 30 times a game. They still can't stop him. The Cincinnati Bengals are so bad, right? They're so bad last year. They were trailing in almost every game. So what do defenses do when they trail? They play a prevent defense, and they let you run. Now you have Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd, Green. You have a slew of wide receivers. Tyler Boyd going into week 14 had more catches than Julio Jones. So now you have a quarterback who's going to throw. They're not going to let Mixon run because they can't just sit back and let him do it. So how are you saying that Mixon is more valuable than Derrick Henry, who basically carried a team over the New England Patriots, over the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs? They put Ryan Tannehill on the sidelines, and they gave Derrick Henry the ball. I don't understand the logic here how Mixon is more valuable than Derrick Henry.
First of all,
go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Levi.
Go ahead.
No, Levi, go. You're fired up. Do it.
All right. I am fired up. First of all, the offensive line is going to be better in Cincinnati. So that alone is good. Plus, they're going to have more receivers. They have A.J. Green. Hopefully he stays healthy. Plus Boyd. Plus Burrow. So that's going to make the defense not focus on the running back. Now, I get it that Henry runs the ball a million times. But what if Tennessee's not able to? What if Tennessee's defense doesn't play well and they're forced to throw the ball? So I get it. Yeah. The comment just said that Derrick Henry's unstoppable. He is. I was in Alabama when he was playing for Alabama. I saw him live, and that year I was telling everybody he's going to win the Heisman. Everyone's like, no, it's going to be Leonard Fournette. And I said, no, he's a better player. Trust me, I get the talent. All I'm saying is, in fantasy football, you got to be thinking forward, not backwards. And
I like that. I like that, Levi. Mic drop.
All right, mic drop.
Okay, so Rico.
Yeah, you know what? Let's not forget that Derrick Henry, you got to remember the team he's on. They protected him for 3 years. You think that they're going to burn out their stud? They're not going to burn. And again, fantasy football is a week-to-week thing. We go week to week. We don't look at it as, I mean, how much are they running Derrick Henry if they're down by 14 points? Not much. They're not going to burn out their pride, their stud, their in their stable to catch up to, they're down 21 points. You ain't seeing much of Derrick Henry. For 3 years, he pretty much sat on the sideline and watched, and then they brought him out to show off. But again, they protect him.
Levi, close this argument, then we'll move to the next topic.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say on the matter. In 2018, when Derrick Henry wasn't doing well in fantasy, that's when Tennessee was utilizing Deion Lewis. Now, Deion Lewis is not with the team. However, the team spent a third-round draft pick to draft a pass-catching running back. So, in my opinion, there is definitely a risk that they involve this third-round running back as similarly to the way they did with Lewis, and that will reduce Henry's production. So, to me, there's a lot of red flags with that situation. With Mixon, there are none. I know who Giovanni Bernard is. He's not good. He's not going to play unless Mixon is injured.
Okay, so here's the question. You guys have Derrick Henry on the board. You have Mixon on the board. Who are you drafting?
I'm taking Mixon.
Rico?
Well, my partner, of course, we're taking Mixon. What do you think I'm going to say? We're together. We're a hive mind here, Monte. When it comes to fantasy football, we work together.
Okay.
I think after the last 3 minutes, we've kind of made our point of who we would take. Again, it's a week-to-week thing. We're not talking like, whatever people want to think. It's a week-to-week, we're backwards thinking.
All right, listen, I disagree with you guys, but you make great points. Okay, Rico, Mike from Pittsburgh emailed like he always does and presented a great question. There are 2 coaches that may be leaving over the next 1 or 2 years. Who would Rico take first if let's say he's the coach of the Jets, he's the general manager of the Jets, and Mike Tomlin from the Steelers and Sean Payton comes available? Rico, who are you hiring? Because those 2 guys could be looking for new jobs in the next 1 or 2 years when Drew Brees retires and Big Ben retires. Who are you taking?
Well, I'll take Mike Tomlin just because I'm a big fan of his, and that that carries a lot of weight. They're both big with discipline. Sean Payton's a little bit more on he goes a little Belichick every once in a while and goes a little into the gray, which I don't think that I'm too keen on when he does that. So I would definitely go with Mike Tomlin, just purely. I mean, look what he's done. He's never had a losing season. Throughout his whole, and you know what? They're both very.
That's a great point, Rico. Because even again, we always remember this. Bill Belichick was 36-44 in Cleveland. He was 5-11 and 0-2 before Tom Brady. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. You're going to take him if you had to pick for the 2. Levi, who would you take?
After last year, I'd probably take Tomlin as well. Before last year, I wasn't sold on him, but what he did with that team last year was phenomenal, and I'm a full believer in Tomlin.
Okay, listen, the Jets signed Le'Veon Bell to a 4-year, $52 million contract, Levi. I expect big things from him this year. He rushed for 789 yards, not a lot, but he caught 66 passes out of the backfield like you love your boy Joe Mixon. So, he's doing that. So I want 1,000 yards, 80 catches, 12 touchdowns. The Jets offensive line, we had Caroline Bozowski in the first part of the show talk about how improved they are. Is that too much to ask? And is he a top 5 running back?
He's definitely not a top 5 running back. And the line got better, but I don't know how much better. There are reports coming out of camp that the rookie Mekhi Becton is looking really good. But they brought in a bunch of other guys that are supposed to fill in the holes. I'm not convinced. I still think they're bottom of the league as far as offensive line. And Bell definitely needs a good line to be successful. Additionally, they brought in Frank Gore. So to me, that indicates that they're going to use Gore as the goal line back. So that definitely is a risk for Bell's production as far as touchdowns. 80 catches might be possible, but I don't see 12 touchdowns happening.
So he's off your radar as a fantasy running back.
No, he's not going top 5. I mean, he's going in the middle round. So in the middle round, I'll definitely take him. The upside is huge. I see the upside, but there's a lot of guys I'd take over him.
Rico, do you agree or disagree with Levi? Top 5 running back for Le'Veon Bell this year. Listen, before he left Pittsburgh, other than Christian McCaffrey, he was considered the best dual threat running back in the NFL.
Well, again, like I say, running back is a 6-man position. You ain't going to be. You can be the greatest running. You're not. You're not Deion Sanders or Eric Dickerson, where you can carry. He's.
How does that analogy make any sense? Deion Sanders is a defensive back. Eric Dickerson is a running back.
Sanders, anyway, I forgot Barry Sanders. Sorry, Barry Sanders. I'm like, wait a minute, it's a Sanders, but you know what? He would have been Deion Sanders would have been a great running back himself.
Listen, Barry Sanders was the best running back I've ever seen, and then I'll go with Walter Payton.
Well, again, both of those men didn't have great offensive lines to where nowadays, but then also defenses were very different. Also back then, they weren't as quick as they are. You don't have a defensive lineman running a 4.40. Back then they didn't do that. They ran. They were much slower. But I think Le'Veon Bell, I want to love him, but I agree with Levi all the way. I mean, if he fell on our lap in a fantasy board, that would be a different – I think it would still be a conversation.
Is he considered a sleeper pick, or you're not even considering him a sleeper?
I don't – what do you think, Levi? I don't –
I mean, he's going in the middle rounds. He's going around the Melvin Gordons and the Chris Carsons and James Conner, all guys I would consider all those guys. I don't know.
I'm not high on Chris Carson just because their offensive line in Seattle is so bad. So, I'm not high on him at all. All right, let's move on. Levi, speaking of running backs, what are the Bills going to do for their running back position this season, and what do you expect out of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary?
All right, if there's one hot take that I'm going to give you guys, it's this one. It's draft Zach Moss. I'm telling you right now, Zach Moss is going to steal that job. Whether it's this year or next year, I don't know. But Zach Moss is the real deal. He's definitely good, and I love Devin Singletary. He was on, I think, 2 out of our 4 teams last year. I don't know what just happened. I'm just telling you, Zach Moss is –
You're telling me that he's going to be the starter.
I didn't say this year, but I see him stealing that job. First of all, he doesn't fumble. Devin Singletary does. He's a better pass catcher. And they're going to use both backs. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's going to be a 1A, 1B, but I could see it within this year, beginning of next year, where he's the 1A for sure.
So is it a stretch? And this is predicated on their success. Is it a stretch to say that the Bills could be a top 5 rushing team in the NFL? Because everyone wants to call this a passing league, but if you look at San Francisco, they were the number 1 rushing attempt league. You look at the success of the Baltimore Ravens, that they were top 2 in rushing. So, you got to run the ball, right? Definitely. I mean, look at what the Titans did last year in the playoffs. They ran the ball. So is it a stretch to say that the Bills with Josh Allen and their running backs could be a top 5 rushing team?
Not a stretch at all. The Bills know what they have in Josh Allen, and they know they need to run the ball to kind of protect him a little bit. He'll throw when he has to, but they're not a pass-happy team at all.
So their success is predicated on rushing, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. With Allen, with Devin Singletary, with Zach Moss. Yeah, they're going to run, and then play action to the speedy receivers.
Okay, Rico, listen, no one is talking about them, and I don't know why. But to me, right now, the Falcons could have the best big three in fantasy football. In Matt Ryan, I drafted Julio Jones, Todd Gurley, and, listen, I think they're going to be an offensive juggernaut. Am I wrong to say that they're the best three, Matt Ryan, the quarterback, Julio Jones, and Todd Gurley on that turf in Atlanta?
Todd Gurley is the Sam Bradford of running backs. I think he's people are just going to constantly believe he could be better than he actually will ever be. Todd Gurley he's hurt. I'm starting to believe he's a little bit of a head case from things that I'm reading and what I'm looking at and what happened here in LA. I don't buy. No, they are not going to be that. What you're just saying, they will not be. Their big three is not. I wouldn't even put them in the top 5 of
what?
Big three in the NFL.
Matt Ryan's going to throw for 3,800 yards minimum.
Yeah, well, you know what? Two of the three I have some faith in, but them three, you need all three. I don't think Gurley's already hurt. I think in practice, right, Levi? Wasn't he hobbling around or something?
Yeah, he already was limping around. He's not a head case. He's a knee case.
Wow, Levi, you're gaining more fans than Rico right now.
Listen, I know how to pick. I know how to pick my friends when it comes to fantasy football. It took a 3-second conversation. I've known Levi for years and years before fantasy football, and once we had the conversation, I was like, "That's it. It's over."
Okay, Levi, same question. Who's your best big three in fantasy football this year? Running back, quarterback, wide receiver.
You're gonna pick on me for this, but I think it's Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, I know that Helaire's a rookie, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and in my opinion, Mahomes is gonna go down as the best ever if he stays healthy. And Hill is so good. You can't argue against those three, in my opinion.
Rico, who's your best big three? Did you say Pittsburgh?
No, not Pittsburgh. There's too many possible. If you're factoring in injury, James Conner is too much of a wild card. I agree with Levi. I think Kansas City has the best three. That's why they're Super Bowl champs. I don't know. I question the team's thought of letting fans watch their practice, but that's just another whole thing. But I agree with him too.
Yeah, listen, Levi's bringing the passion today. We love it. I'm gonna listen. Can I make the argument here? Can I make the argument that Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Amari Cooper? Or can I make the argument that Alvin Kamara was hurt all last year? Michael Thomas is the best wide receiver with Drew Brees. Can I bring up those? Rico, talk about the Saints' big three and talk about Dallas's big three.
Well, I just like the way that you proved my point on Atlanta's big three not being in the top 5. So I think
they are. I'm just saying, throw these in too.
They're
top
great.
5 means 5, Rico. Doesn't mean 1.
It doesn't mean – well, you already named 3. I'm sure if I think hard enough, I can find 2 more that are better than that week 3.
Okay, talk about Dallas. Can they be a legitimate 1, 2, and 3 punch?
Without a doubt. I mean, look at them. They're young. Not only could they be a 1, 2, 3 punch, they got years behind them. They're gonna have they'll be together in 4 years. Them 3, which makes them, the chemistry that they're building between them 3 is untouchable. And, and fantasy-wise, they're all really good. I mean, Amari Cooper's going so late. I keep telling Levi, I'm surprised how late he's going in the draft. And he's something, but you could pick up cheap if you're playing fantasy football. So I really like them 3 a lot.
We're talking with Rico Graziano and Levi about fantasy football and NFL roundtable discussion here on the full Monte Sports Show live on YouTube. Levi, Alvin Kamara, again, fell off the radar last year. I think a lot of it has to do with Mark Ingram was his mentor. Mark Ingram was his go-to guy. He didn't have him. Can we make the argument that Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara is going to have a bounce-back year? Where do you see him on the fantasy football depth chart?
I think not only did Ingram leave, but also his knee was hurting him. He was banged up all year. I have him top 5 for sure. I love Kamara. I love Brees. Brees is going super late. And Michael Thomas is Michael Thomas. He's unbelievable. So that's definitely a good top 3 right there.
Yeah, listen, Michael Thomas set the record for most receptions in a season last year. He broke the record. He had 149 catches, I believe. So, Levi, we have about 10 minutes left. We're going to get you and Rico some more bonus questions here. How much stock are you putting into Matthew Stafford of the Lions? And they had a tremendous wide receiving core with Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones, 11 TDs, 9 TDs. Listen, I think that offense could be special, especially since they draft the running back. How much stock are you putting in Matthew Stafford? Because people are putting him as a top 5 quarterback this year.
Not top 5. I have him as my 11th ranked quarterback. He's consistent. I like him, and I love Marvin Jones, and I love Galladay. Galladay is kind of my target for wide receiver 1 because he's going a little bit later in like the 3rd round. So then you can get 2 solid running backs and a very consistent wide receiver. Galladay last year was playing with Chase Daniels and David Blau, and he was still a top 10 wide receiver. So in my opinion, this year it's almost a guarantee that he's going to be top 10 as long as he stays healthy. As far as Stafford, I'm just a little bit concerned with him because the offensive coordinator, Darren Bevel, was so run heavy in the past. So I know that there's always the chance that he goes to that again. So I'm a little bit apprehensive.
You know, I really think the worst offensive coordinator for years, and Russell Wilson covers it up, is in Seattle. I mean, it's basically run, and then let Russell Wilson, who's number 1 in 3rd down quarterback rankings and number 1 in 4th down quarterback rankings. He just, does magic. So I agree with your point, like just run heavy. But listen, I think Stafford, he doesn't win games, but he puts up numbers, no, Rico?
Oh, yeah, I like him. I want him as our quarterback. I don't know. I don't think he's going off as the top 5. Is he, Levi?
No way.
No way near it. He's going off. You see, from what again, we do these pro leagues that we're a little ahead of the curve on a lot of things. So he's going really late enough to where me and Levi like chest bump that we could probably get him like in a real late round and pick up other guys that would fill in other spots. Like, I mean, I'd rather get he's at a spot in our drafts where we can get a better wide receiver to put on our bench and wait on him. So we're really excited about him. I feel like he'll fall in our lap when we need him to.
So walk me through this here for you guys who live and breathe fantasy football 365, 24/7. There's a lot of people who have their drafts coming up this week. I know a lot of people have their drafts today. I had one of my drafts yesterday. I'm doing 3 this year. I don't like to do that because you're competing against yourself. But you're telling me in the first, let's say you have the 5th pick in the 1st round, then it comes back to you. So your first 2 rounds, Levi, you're going running back. Is that correct?
No, I mean, there's no exact formula to it. It really depends who slips. I mean, if Michael Thomas is there in the 2nd round, I'm obviously going to take him. Same for Devontae Adams. But other than those 2, I'm probably taking a running back in the first 2 rounds.
So, Rico, this year you've really minimized the wide receiver.
Well, the wide receiver pool is so deep because, like you said, it is a throwing league now. I mean, it's been for the last few years, but now more than ever that you see these prime. Again, Amari Cooper's going in the 3rd. He's a number 1 wide receiver on a great team with a great quarterback, and he's still going deep. He's going late. Whereas, if this was 5 years ago, he's a 2nd round pick easy with the numbers that he's put up. But it's the pool of wide receivers is far greater than the pool of running backs. So, our thinking is suck up the best running backs you can right away, especially because injuries happen to running backs, 2 times more than they do to wide receivers. And also stay away from people who have hamstring injuries.
Okay, Levi, last question. Rico tells me you're an encyclopedia of knowledge. So give me your top 3 rookie wide receivers, what teams they're on, and what they're going to do. To me, I absolutely love Judy. I love CeeDee Lamb, and I like the kid from Philadelphia, from TCU. I think he's going to put up extreme numbers with Carson Wentz. Give me your top 3 rookie wide receivers that people should watch out for this year, and tell the fans what teams they're on because they may not know their names.
Well, it's those 3 that you mentioned. I like Judy the most coming out before the draft.
And he's on what team?
He's on the Denver Broncos.
Right.
I love CeeDee Lamb. I think as far as fantasy
for Dallas
year, yeah, I think that CeeDee Lamb has the most potential to really boom. But if you're looking for a consistent guy, you can go with Jalen Reagor from Philadelphia. They don't have much competition at the wide receiver position, and they drafted him pretty high. There's also Henry Ruggs, who was the first receiver taken in the draft by the Oakland Raiders. And I guarantee
elite speed. You know, I saw him play against Michigan live. I went to the bowl game and I covered it for Nuts and Bolts Sports. And Michigan could hang in every department against Alabama except their wide receivers. The wide receivers of Alabama were so fast. I was amazed to see that. So you think he's going to put up some really good numbers?
I think so. Kind of like the Bills. Oakland likes to run the ball, so I don't know how many targets he's going to get, but he has boom potential as well.
So 5 years down the road, who are we going to say is the best wide receiver in this draft? And I know you don't like to speculate, but that's what we do here.
I mean, no, I don't mind speculating as long as it's about fantasy. I think it's probably, if I had to make a bet right now, put me on the spot on that one. That's a tough one. It's probably Judy or Lamb.
Okay, no, listen, those are safe bets. I think Amari Cooper's going to get the double team. The question I have for Dallas is Dak Prescott loves to use the tight end. Who's their tight end going to be? I mean, is it going to be a 50, 60-yard reception for the tight end here?
So they have Blake Jarwin. They believe in him, and they let Jason Witten go. And I think he's a very good fantasy option as well. He's going super late. I don't even know if he's getting drafted in a lot of leagues, but he's a safe target.
Last question: does Hooper, who had 75 catches last year with Atlanta, does he get 70 catches in Cleveland this year?
I don't think so. The offensive coordinator on Cleveland was the offensive coordinator with the Vikings, and the Vikings always use 2 tight end sets. You can never predict which tight end was going to get the touches, and I think that he'll get his targets. I mean, you know what? No, he won't get 70 targets, but he might get a lot of touchdowns because Baker likes to, give the ball to the tight end. But I don't think that offense is set up to give 70 touches to the tight end.
Okay, last question for you, Levi. Then we're going to let you go, and then Rico's going to do his rant. Levi, I'm telling everyone Jarvis Landry is a better option in Cleveland than Odell Beckham Jr. Am I crazy for saying that?
You weren't crazy last year by saying that. He definitely was last year. This year, the thing is, OBJ was hurt, and he looks really good in camp. And not only that, but Jarvis Landry is hurt now. So I think the safer bet now would be OBJ.
Listen, Levi disagreed with me the entire show, but he did give me a compliment in saying you weren't crazy last year for saying that. I just think Landry's he has better chemistry with Baker Mayfield than Odell Beckham Jr. has.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, Levi, how can we follow you, support you, social media, any of that stuff?
I'm at Sideshow Levi on Instagram.
That's it. No Facebook, no nothing.
That's it.
I love your background because you have the full Monte Sports Show. You have a plant because we are green on this show. I'm a progressive, and you got the books to make us smarter, and you made us smarter for the show. I tell Rico this every week. Anytime you want to come on, we love having you. You are a tremendous guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
He's tremendous. Rico, I see why you love him.
Did you see my diamond in the rough? I've polished him. I've made.
Whoa. Go ahead. There you go. What happened?
When I met Levi, he didn't know about fantasy football. He used to speculate and do like number charts for the NFL draft. And I said, wow, that should help in fantasy football. And he said, what's that? And this was years and years ago. I fell over. And then when I finally woke up, I was like, you don't know what fantasy football is. And he's like, no. I said, well, you got to come over. And I explained it to him. And he looked at me like I just showed him like a pot of gold. And I was like, here, my child.
Wait a minute. He never did fantasy football before you.
He never even knew about it. Honestly, we could say it was one of those life, like a moment in life that will always be.
He was born to play fantasy football.
Like literally nobody knows as much as, again, when he becomes famous, I'm going to be like, I'm the guy. If there's a way to, whatever the top tier of being famous in fantasy football is, he'll get there. And when he's there, I will always be known as the guy who found him.
Okay, Rico, listen, you find talent. That's why you gravitate towards me. So,
That's
Rico,
right.
let's look at some of these comments, then you do your rant, and we'll get you get going on your way. So, listen, people still are going with this prison theme. I don't know. Prison Mike from the you ever see the movie, the show The Office? Prison Mike, very funny. Listen, I agree with it. Rico, what about this?
Oh yeah, his background is much better. Especially I like the way he Alexa, stop. I like. Sorry, I went on. My Alexa
is your artificial intelligence running your house?
Yes, it's telling me what to do. It's I got use all the tools at your disposal that I have. But
so wait a minute, Alexa's telling you what to do, just like your partner Melissa, just like your son, just like your sister Rosa. Everyone tells you what to do, even a computer.
Well, exactly. Again, why I'm so successful, and it'll go into my rant of being smart enough to know when somebody's smarter than you to jump on the boat and jump in with them and realize, hey, you're smarter than me. Here's the wheel. You go right ahead and take it.
I'm shocked that Levi. How long when did you guys start doing fantasy football?
6 years ago or so, 7 years ago.
So he never did fantasy football before he met you.
He never did fantasy, and I've known him for years prior because in my world, I just assumed everybody plays fantasy football. And
well, you live in a degenerate world. I don't think Levi is in the degenerate world.
Well, just to tell you who I'm sucking into the degenerate world now is George Lopez. I call him and text him every day. He has got a 70% rate on giving me basketball picks. I got to give it to him. He's crushing it. I literally text George every day, and I'm like, so who am I taking? Matter of fact, yesterday, George texted me who to take. I'm in the middle of training George, and he doesn't even know it.
Okay, and here's what I'm going to say. George reached out to me yesterday and said, I need to get a restraining order from Rico because he keeps calling me and texting me and asking me for bets. Can you leave him alone?
I bothered him. Hey, George, how are you? I'm doing good. So who am I taking today? That's it.
So there's no idle chit-chat.
No idle chit-chat. Nothing. I don't even know if he has kids. I don't know if he's married, not married. I have no idea, but I know.
All right, Rico, real quick. Listen, we're going to start doing this show. Football season is coming up, and the show's going to be an hour and a half on Sundays, and then it's going to be 11 to 12:30, and then we're going to do a Tuesday show, 9 to 10 o'clock Eastern time, just a recap, sort of like Inside the NFL with me and you and one guest. So we're going to be doing that. But Rico, real quick, before we obviously let you go and do your rant here, people keep emailing me about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're very upset with you because you don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans say this is the year because of Ben Roethlisberger and the experience they have. You're still putting Cleveland, who has a new coach, Baker Mayfield, a whole new lineup, and you're putting the Ravens, rightly so, although the Ravens just waived their safety. Rico, people are upset that's why I put the background here, that you don't have the Steelers making the playoffs.
Well, the reason is a big thing is fantasy does loop into this. It's Ben's not throwing great. They've already had some articles, and for when it comes out of Pittsburgh, that his throwing motion, they compared it to Phillip Rivers. So that, to me, once you compare anything to Phillip Rivers, you know how much I hate him. That's it. It's over. You might as well fold up the season if they're saying that his throwing motion is. So now you have him as the wild card. James Conner, will he get hurt? He's another wild card. Now you have Juju. He's another wild card because he had a horrible – he gave up last year in the team. So you have three players. Like, I'm a gambler, but when I see three clear issues, it's hard for me to say that all three are going to work out. Now, if Ben's arm is not what they're saying, you got to remember he had a surgery on his throwing elbow. That's a big part of the whole thing. His arm.
Listen, I'm just saying this because a lot of Steeler fans follow me. They were very upset that you don't think they're making the playoffs. And I'm kind of upset because you don't even mention my Oregon Duck background.
Oh, you show. I saw it. I'm happy that my background work is making you reassess your backgrounds.
You're making me step up my game. is what you're doing. And listen, I'm sorry if there was some confusion there. The NFL recap show is going to be 9 p.m. Eastern at night to 10 o'clock. It's going to be me and Rico. Rico's going to break down every AFC game and the games he lost money on in gambling because he's a degenerate. And I'm going to talk about the NFC game.
Degenerate.
And we're gonna have a guest on each week, and we're not gonna have a guest on whose team lost. We're gonna have a guest on from Dallas or Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, teams that won. So that's how the show's gonna work. It's not gonna be like this format. It's just an hour for hardcore football fans. Yes, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have comedy, but it's going to be an hour show based on just NFL recap. And again, Rico talking about the AFC, and we're sure that Rico is going to be so angry when he talks about the teams that he bet and they lost.
Yes, very angry. I have to figure out how so Joe doesn't have to talk to his lawyers. Every time I talk about teams I lost on money, I'm gonna think about Joe and think about the lawyer cost if I lose my cool.
Okay. All right. Listen, it's time for Rico's rant. Again, this is from the movie Napoleon Dynamite, where Uncle Rico just talks trash. Yes, we went over time, but we're just working things out right now. And again, the first week of the football season, we will go 11 to 12:30, and then every Tuesday we will be 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific, just me and Rico. So, Rico, you have the floor. It is yours. Rico's rant.
Well, here we go. My rant has been changed from what I was going to tell a story. So I'm just going to go into you brought up Mark Ingram earlier and the power of one player and one person, what they can do. In high school, I was not the best player by far, but I knew how to bring a team together, and we were all friends. We hung out all the time. And I'm not comparing myself with Mark Ingram. When I say Mark Ingram, he's the running back for the Baltimore Ravens. When he was in New Orleans Saints, they seemed more of a team. Everybody was together. He had no problem letting Kamara, his competition in the NFL, it's considered his competition, get the ball, become a better player. I've watched him on the Ravens become a team. When they say a team player, like it goes beyond that. And I think that goes on for everything and everybody. I was at the park the other day, and there was a guy there. He was playing his guitar, and I couldn't go up and talk to him. I mean, besides the fact I had a quick chat with him, and I had to push aside that he was playing Led Zeppelin, so I got really excited. And then he said he just started listening to Led Zeppelin, which is a band from the 70s. I almost fell off my chair, and I wasn't even sitting on a chair. But that being said, I think that we undervalue certain things of what one person can bring to a team, and that's what I brought when I was in high school. I feel like that's what Levi brings to us on the show. I feel like that's what you bring onto the show. I feel like embracing individualism is our thing. That's my thing that I came up with during the show, because you brought up Mark Ingram and how I really believe he's not only worth every penny, that if he should be overpaid and taken to any team he goes to, because he is that clearly that guy in the NFL. And also I'm really psyched about the NHL and Gary Bettman, what he's done with their bubble, and how he's put a lot of faith in adult men who are players and having their own accountability, which nobody's talking about how great the NHL is doing with their bubble and how they did it in different phases.
They're doing it. My brother Pete is a huge NFL fan. But Rico, I just want to talk about the opening rant. Normally I don't comment on anything you say on the show because it's your thought process. It's getting into the mind of Rico, which is a scary thing. And I said earlier on in the show, I said, for the past 2 years, I could literally write the screenplay for the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin Part 2. I'm not like with COVID, I'm not doing. But Rico, I think the whole point of your Rico's rant was to relive your high school years. And I wasn't sure, but when I went back and looked at your background of your Facebook page, you have a 1991 football state championship banner. Rico, you do understand we're in the year 2020. What the hell are you doing reliving high school? Are you watching my favorite show of all time, Saved by the Bell? What is this reminiscing crap?
Well, what do you mean reminiscing? There you go, right there, Monte. This is what happens when you put a team together. You win championships. Our team was a Group 1. So our school had
nobody cares about your high school football team.
We had 600 students. We were beating schools that had 3,000 students. We beat my sophomore year, we were undefeated, lost the championship game. My senior year, we lost one game and we won the whole thing. Now, I'm not just going back to my high school days. It's up there because we were champions. It'll never be done again. Matter of fact, that team is now combined with another team because nobody wants to play football anymore because everybody's afraid for some weird reason. But yeah, there you go, championship. Oh, where's your championship banner growing up? Even though as a coach, you were a great coach from what I remember.
Rico, let me explain something to you. I don't have championship banners because you know why? I was expected to win. It wasn't a once in a lifetime thing. So I don't post 1991 because I did it as an adult. No one cares. There are 3 things people don't care about in life. No one cares about your problems. No one cares how good your fantasy football team is. And no one cares about your high school accolades. Are you going to talk about the cheerleader? Are you going to talk about the cheerleader you used to date?
What are you talking about? I wish I dated a cheerleader, but just hold on. What do you mean nobody cares about my fantasy football team? In my mind, every person I talk to cares about my fantasy. Matter of fact, I don't give them a choice to not care about my fantasy football team. I will talk to them about it. And if they don't know about fantasy football, I will explain it to them. And if they do know about fantasy football, I will ask them why they're not playing more. And if they quit, because I know people who quit fantasy football because they can get obsessive, I just let them know that they're a little bit more weaker than most men in my eyes. And I don't mean it in a bad way, just they're a little more weaker. It's so,
Rico, I'm gonna give you this piece of advice, then I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna do my extra point. I said in my opening rant, this is Mike Conley. Okay, Mike Conley left the bubble to be with his wife and newborn son. Okay, and people were saying he's not a man. So I tell all my friends who have kids, who are married, my friend Jared, I don't have a lot of friends, my friend Jared, you, who are not really a friend, but whatever, we use each other to get what we need. If you want to show your kids how to be a good husband, treat your partner right. Don't curse. Don't diminish your wife. Support them. Let them run the show because women are smarter than men. I'm not saying be submissive. I'm saying every relationship has to be 50-50. But you're saying that if someone quits fantasy football, they're not really a man. So you're basically going with Joe from Hoboken's philosophy. If you wear pink, you're not a man. If you don't play fantasy football, you're not a man. If you wear pink, you're not a man.
What are you talking about? I'm wearing pink right there. And I agree with him the way he, with his wife. I always say, treat your wife in front of your kids the way, because like my son will treat his girlfriends and people the way I treat my wife.
Right.
So I treat him terribly, so he treats everybody. No, I'm going to kid you.
Rico, what people are asking me, you're not going to agree. I consider you a co-host of this show. You're my co-host on Tuesday night. So here's what I'm going to say. I want to get Melissa on just to talk about you and to see. I won't have to mute you because she's going to be right 90% of the time. And if we have her on the show, you will be muted. She'll be like, what are you saying?
Melissa's one of my biggest, next to you, Melissa's one of my biggest fans. So if she comes on the show, she's going to.
Says a lot about her. I respect Melissa. I like her. But I say this to anyone. If you could put up with someone if someone puts up with you for more than an hour, you should hang on to them like grim death. My parents have been married for over 60 years. I don't know how my mom does it.
Well, your mom's a saint. She's my number one fan, and then it goes Melissa. It's your mom and Melissa are my 1 and 2. That's it. All you need is 2, and you're on. I got it. The rest are soon to follow.
Okay, we're gonna end here, Rico, and I'm gonna say this. I hate to use this reference, but someone once said, I'm not gonna use his name. He said, I would never join a fraternity that would have me as a member because I'm such a loser. I would never marry someone who's going to marry me. How is Melissa your number one fan? I know the real you. How does she love that?
You love it. You don't know. Deep down, when you shut this down, you're going to say, oh. And I'm still offended. You never say I hear you say to everybody, you make our show smarter. Not once. 6 years I've been doing this show with you. 5 years. Not once have you said, Rico, you make this show smarter. At least say, give me like you make it more entertaining. You make me better looking. Anything. But no, never. Not once.
So you're saying I don't give you compliments? Is that what you're saying?
Not yet. I don't. As a matter of fact, let's not break the streak. I like a 6-year streak to stay the way it is. Now that I think about it.
Here's what I will say, Rico. To a job this week, done. Not well done. To a job done. That's what I say.
Good.
And here's why, Rico. You just said it. I have 25 pages of notes that I have for a 2-hour show. You just said I was going to talk about something else, but you mentioned Mark Ingram, and you just went off on a tangent.
Well, that's the way. It's my rant. I'll do what I want with my rant. And also, let George know I'll be texting him in about 5 minutes to get some plays.
Listen, can we not bring your degenerateness, is that a word, to George Lopez? He's pretty reputable.
He's already there. He's already there. We text literally like 10 times a day in the last 4 days since last week's show, actually. Wow.
Okay, Rico, last thing. You're going to be on a show this Tuesday, correct?
Yes. Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday?
Can we promote that real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead, do it up.
No, you promote it. You're the guest, not me.
I will promote the show. You didn't even tell me that I was going to be promoting the show.
Okay, what show are you going to be on? Titletown Brawl.
Yes, hold on. I was just actually looking it up well, I'm not. The thing is, I have my time. I don't know their time, what time I go on with them. So I'm not sure exactly. I have to double check everything. I didn't realize because I was doing the homework on all of our other stuff because you gave us a lot of questions this week, and I wanted to look good with Levi.
You know, you just said I never compliment you. And part of the reason is I'm going to blame myself right now. I think of myself as a great interviewer. Never ask a question you don't know the answer to. You did not know. You didn't even know the answer of the show you're going to be on.
You threw me a curveball, and for a second, I just was because I was thinking of George, and I was looking at the time, and I know that the basketball game already started, and I'm wondering.
I'm just going to end with that.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Title Tag boys. I literally was like, I was staring at the time, and I'm like, I got to get off. What am I still talking for?
Right,
I missed the game. I already missed it. It's 10:15.
Thank you so much, Rico. Love having you on. You do a tremendous job. That's to a job done.
Yeah, good. I'll talk to you later.
That was Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Listen, I want to thank everyone for tuning into the full Monte Sports Show live on YouTube. I want to thank Caroline Bozowski. I want to thank Joe Cardozo. I want to thank Levi and Rico. And, of course, we end the show with Monte's extra point. So here we go with the extra point. Now, listen, I reffed about 1,000 games, high school, college, AAU, and I'm not comparing myself to the NBA refs. But there was a movie, no one saw the movie. Again, I'm the master of obscure movies. No one knows what the hell I'm talking about. But there was a sequel to the Bad News Bears. And me and my brother Pete use this all the time. They're playing in the Houston Astrodome, and they stop the game, and the coach comes out and the Bad News Bears, and they say, let them play, let them play. Well, the officiating in the NBA has been atrocious. Here is Kendrick Perkins, former NBA player. Well, hopefully tomorrow's games will bring the bubble life back because the refs took the energy out of today's games. NBA officials, it's not about you. What they were talking about is right here. Kristaps Porzingis blocking a shot right here on Paul George of the LA Clippers. And then he got a technical because he pumped his fist in the air and said a bad call. Then Kristaps Porzingis, as you see here, getting choked by an LA Clipper player. And they throw Kristaps Porzingis out of the game. Again, let them play. Let them play. Never in the history of NBA has anyone watched a game to watch the referees. I used to be an office manager, and I used to say all the time, being an office manager is a lot like being an offensive lineman. You don't let up a sack for 15 games, and then you let up one sack, and everyone puts the eyes on you. NBA officials, again, listen to Kendrick Perkins. It's not about you. This is playoff basketball. Let them play. Let them play. If Kristaps Porzingis has a clean block and you missed it, as we see right here, and he pumps his fist in the air, he's not cursing at you. He's not, going up to you. Don't give him a technical foul. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. Guys, the NBA officiating has been atrocious. I coached, I refed, I know how bad they are. And here's what I will say. Okay? You got to have a feel for the game. Emotions are high. If someone reacts to a call and they're not cursing at you, you got to let the emotions go by. And then talk to the player afterwards, like I used to do in college summer league games. Guys, listen, don't react like that. I don't want to give you a technical foul. If I miss the call, I'm sorry, but I can't have you reacting that way. Communicate with these guys. Communicate with these guys. No one wants to see stars get thrown out of a game for a bogus technical foul. And that has been the extra point. Again, we went overtime. That is fine. Starting the week before, the first week of the NFL season, which is coming right around the corner, we will go 11 to 12:30. I hope you enjoyed the full Monte Sports Show. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.